Take her live. Hey, hey, it looks like we're live streaming from Superhero Headquarters. This is Marisa Murgatroyd, founder of Live Your Message and Superhero. So welcome to day one of the Online Business Superhero Summit featuring the one and only John Corcoran. So I'm going to introduce John in just a little bit, but first I want to tell you what to expect over the next 2 weeks. So you are in for 10 amazing trainings from leading entrepreneurs who figured out exactly how to build seven-figure online business. So I've basically scored the globe looking for these 10 superheroes because every single one of them has something really unique and really different to share with you. They're all awesome, they're accomplished, they've got ripped abs and biceps, and they're all super committed to serving and making a difference with their knowledge and expertise and really giving you as many of the proven and actionable strategies as possible over the course of their 60 to 90-minute training with you each day. So what I recommend that you do right now is mark your calendars for noon Pacific each day, Monday through Friday, between now and November 20th. And I recommend turning out live because I'd love to have you participate in the chat, in the dialogue, get the conversation going, and we're going to do a question and answer with each superhero at the end. So it's not every day that you get to have your questions answered by someone like John Corcoran and many of the other superheroes we've got for you, people like Justin Livingston and John Benson and Sage Levine, and a lot of other awesome, awesome folks. And if you come out live, you're also going to have the opportunity to win a contest prize at the end of every presentation. So at the end of today's session, John is going to be giving away his Power Networking System. And if you want a shot at winning John's Power Networking System, you've got to do two things. The first thing you've got to do is register for our Online Business Superhero Summit contest, and you start racking up points by inviting your friends to join. And the second thing you've got to do is be on the line when we announce the prize winners at the very end. So if you've entered the contest and you've got the most amount of points that day and you're on the line, then you get the prize. So we're going to drop the contest link into the chat right now, and I see a lot of people saying hi in the chat, which means you've discovered the chat box, and I definitely recommend continuing to engage and ask your questions throughout the presentation. So we're dropping that link into the chat right now, and just take a moment. It takes about 5 seconds to register for the contest, and that means you'll be entered to win a prize every single day. And each one of our superheroes is going to give away something awesome. So if you can't make it live, don't worry, because we're actually going to be sending out a link to the replay for each session as soon as the session is over, and you'll have 2 days to watch the session before we take it down. Now, a lot of people just prefer to watch these trainings on their own time. You know, we live in the age of TiVo and all kinds of other ways to watch content. So we've got the Superhero Pack available for you, which includes lifetime access to all the videos, the audios, and the transcripts. And I wanted to let you know that the pre-summit special of $97 for the Superhero Pack is going to expire in just a few minutes, the moment that John takes the stage. So if you've been thinking about grabbing the pack, I definitely recommend doing it now so you can lock in the special. So the price is going to go up $50 in just a few minutes once the summit starts, and every single year people miss out on this, and then they email us after seeing if they can still get the summit special. So we've done this summit 6 times, and every single year it's the same thing. So I've actually worn this superhero suit, and just so you can see the suit right now, I've worn this 6 times before. So we know how it works, and I wanted to give you the heads up that once the pre-summit special is over, it's over. So just click the button below this video, and you'll be able to grab the pack at the lowest possible price. So trust me when I say these trainings are awesome. Every single person who we're bringing forward, I vetted, and I know they're the real deal, and they're going to give super value-packed content. So let me share what to expect today before we get going. So as you know, we use live streaming Google Hangouts on air for presentations. That means we're real people live in real time talking to you today. There's no safety net. Anything could happen. We could mess up. The table could come crashing down. There could be an earthquake, and that's all part of the fun of it. So if for whatever reason the sound cuts out for you or the browser freezes up, chances are it's something with your internet connection, and just refresh your browser and that fixes the problem most of the time. On the rare occasion that you're having a bad internet day, and it does happen to everyone, even superheroes, you can come back and watch the replay later, but we recommend that you stick around because that way you can engage in the chat and the conversation and get your questions answered. So that's why we've installed a live chat box to the left of this video. So just take a moment to say hi and let us know where you're coming from. We've got Kimberly and we've got Jesse in the chat room to support you. And I see we've got Alexis, we've got Denise, we've got Joan, we've got Sobo Partners, we've got Sarah, we've got Sandy, we've got Laura, we've got Tariro, Tracy, Peggy, a lot of different people. We've got 413 people in the chat right now, which is awesome because we're stoked. And we've got a lot of value to give to you. So one of the best parts of the summit is being able to interact and engage with the community, with me, with Murray, with our fans and our friends and our followers, and with the superheroes themselves. And it's your energy and your inspiration in the chat that really inspires us to keep giving more and more and more. So we've installed some social share buttons as well to the left of the video. And if you'd like to help us spread this community and spread this training to a lot more people, just take a moment to hit like and share and tweet and everything else that you can do, because we want to really share these trainings with as many people as possible, because so many entrepreneurs need access to the kinds of trainings and the kinds of information and strategies that our superheroes have. So we're also going to post the link to all of our community pages in the chat so you can stay connected throughout the summit and just receive all the different updates and be part of a conversation of what you learned every single day. So now it's time to introduce you to our very own, very special superhero, John Corcoran. And John's going to be teaching you how to cold email any VIP, build a relationship, and turn that relationship into real value. So John Corcoran was actually a former Clinton White House writer and the founder of Smart Business Revolution, where he writes about how to increase your income by building and nurturing relationships with people who matter. And John's worked with all kinds of cool people, not just Clinton, but people like Steven Spielberg. And John believes, and I believe this too, that the better your network, the more successful that you're going to be, and the more money that you're going to make, and the bigger impact that you can have. And so today, he's going to teach you the strategies that you need to seek out and really build the right network who's going to support you in reaching the people that you really want to reach and being of a deeper level of service. So I'm really super impressed with John, and I know that you're going to love him too. So John, over to you.
Marisa, thank you so much for having me. And first I have to say, I didn't get the memo about the superhero outfit. I would have worn a cape if I'd known you were going to actually have this outfit on. So I apologize to begin with to everyone who's on here. It's amazing. We have like 500 people on here. And I apologize that I'm not wearing a cape. I know it would be a better presentation if I'd done that. But we're going to run through a lot of content here. Hopefully some of the advice and strategies and email templates I'm going to give you in this presentation are going to make up for the fact that I'm not dressed like a real superhero. But really excited to be here and very cool to see you all. I'm going to switch on over to my slides now so that you all can follow along with those. Hopefully you see them there now. Okay, cool. All right, thank you, everyone. And we had I wanted to just recognize a few of the people here. We have Roger and Ronald and Tariro, looks like, Melissa, Kelly, just a ton of people here. Thank you all for being here. Joan and Ed and Yael, a lot of people. Okay, very cool, you guys. So I'm going to rush through this. It's going to be about an hour or so presentation, and then we're going to have some Q&A afterwards. So definitely stick around for the duration of this presentation, and we can chat afterwards. Anything you want to ask about, it's fair game, okay? So this is how to cold email any VIP, build a relationship, and turn that relationship into value and revenue, and really excited to be here. So let me ask you guys the first question just to start off here. Who here hates going to boring networking events? So just say yes in the chat if you agree with that. Who hates going to boring networking events? I know I do. I'll say yes. I'll be the first person to say that. Who here hates making small talk with sleazy networkers like this guy? Has anyone ever met this guy at a networking event and had to talk with someone like this? You know, the kind of guy that's just like taking his business card and he's sticking it in your hand. And he's trying to sell you on his product or service as soon as you've met him, and it's so annoying, right? I hate people like that. So in this presentation, I'm going to show you guys how you can kick old school networking to the curb and replace it with something much better. I'm going to walk you through my system for building relationships with VIPs who matter, whether it's whoever you want to connect with. Okay, it could be bloggers, podcasters, it could be business owners, it could be entrepreneurs, it could be yoga studio owners, it could be web designers, whatever kind of person. It could be best-selling authors, whoever it is you want to connect with. I'm going to show you how I went from a humble middle-class family. That's me with the bright red hair there. It's gone a little bit more gray, unfortunately, in recent years. But humble middle-class family, didn't have any special connections or anything like that. I was a product of public schools, didn't go to any special Ivy League schools or anything like that. I actually flunked kindergarten. I mean, how do you flunk kindergarten? I'm not exactly sure. I think they were like, okay, all right, you know, he's not doing so well with the scissors. I don't think he's quite mastered paste. So we're gonna keep him back in kindergarten. To actually meeting a number of presidents, working for one in the Clinton administration. That's me with Elon Musk there. I've actually appeared on many top websites, blogs, and podcasts, spoken at major conferences, connected with many famous entrepreneurs. And actually, here's the key point, because it's not just about building relationships with, you know, the famous people that you look up to and admire from afar and not actually turning it into anything. I'm actually talking about turning those relationships into clients and revenue. So that's what we're talking about here. If you want to go out and meet, you know, Kim Kardashian or go meet Justin Bieber, this isn't the right presentation for you, okay? Even hosting my own events with influencers. This is an event I did a couple of months back. I actually had people who, you know, just a year earlier, I had no business connecting with them, and instead, at this event, they were actually paying to attend an event that I organized. And this was actually just last week. I had my own entrepreneurs retreat in Austin. Here's a few of the folks who came as our special guests. Noah Kagan, Ryan Holiday, Ryan Levesque were some of our special guests. Dan Cushell, special guests who appeared at the event. These are people who I admired from afar not that long ago. Now they're coming to an event that I organized. Today I actually run 2 businesses that I can manage from my laptop anywhere with an internet connection. Even though not that long ago I was working a job that I hated. So the question is, well, how did I do it? Well, when I email a VIP, I get responses like this. This is from Noah Kagan, the founder of AppSumo and SumoMe. He says, damn, you write a great cold email. A couple of days later, I get a box of cookies in the mail. I'll explain a little bit later why he sent me cookies. This is from Dan Pinks, the author of Drive and To Sell is Human. Phenomenal author. I'm really big fan of his works. Hey, John, thanks for the very nice offer. Much appreciated. That's what he says. Brie Forleo, very successful online entrepreneur. This is her response. Michael Port, author of Book Yourself Solid and the more recent book, Steal the Show. This is his response. Bob Berg, author of Endless Referrals and The Go-Giver. You guys get the idea. These are the types of responses that I get when I send emails out. So I'm going to show you in this presentation how you can do it as well, no matter where in the world you live, and even if you are just starting out or you feel like you have nothing to offer. So does this sound exciting to you? I want to know, say yes in the chat if this is exciting to you. I want you to be excited about connecting with people you admire and who inspire you. Maybe it's Marisa. Maybe it's Murray. Maybe it's, who knows, Marie Forleo. Maybe it's Noah Kagan. The people that you admire from afar, you can get to know them. You can build a relationship with them. In fact, dare I say it, you can even have some kind of business alliance, no matter what line of work, no matter what niche you're in. I promise you, you can do that. And I think it's a tragedy. In fact, I want to obliterate this. What I think is a tragedy is when people admire someone from afar and they're like, I really look up to that person, and then they think, you know what, I won't reach out to them. That sucks. That is awful, because that is you stopping yourself from connecting with the people who you should connect with the most, okay? So I want to give you guys an incentive to stick around to the end. So I'm going to share with you at the end a marketing tool that I created that you can use to grow your income, just to give you guys a little bit of incentive to stick around to the end. But first I want to share some information about why it's so hard to connect with influencers, and that's clearly a very influential dog right there in that picture. But we are absolutely inundated with messages, okay? We get email, social media, information messages, text messages. Say yes in the chat if you get too many messages in a day. I know I am. My inbox is flipping overloaded. It's too much, right? And this is an amazing statistic. It's actually a little bit out of date, but 145 billion emails sent every day, if you can believe that. Just a phenomenal number of emails sent every day. I feel like half of them end up in my inbox, but you know, just like an insane number of emails are sent. And actually, statistically, so 11.2 hours, that's the amount of time we spend per week reading and responding to email. That's over a quarter of our week we spend reading and responding to email. But here's the good news, okay? So if you were sincere, if you're honest, if you're open, then there are more opportunities and tools for connecting with VIPs than ever before in human history. And I'm going to show you guys exactly why. And it's actually easier than ever to turn those relationships into income. So I want to share a story with you. This is me at 13 years old. I was a chubby 13-year-old kid. I had little focus or direction. I used to come home from school each day, and I'd sit down, I'd sit my butt in front of the video game console, and I'd play Super Mario Brothers. I'm dating myself, I guess, a bit there. I play Super Mario Brothers, and I get a big bowl of sour cream and onion potato chips, and I'd get a big thing of cherry Coke, and I'd eat those two, and then I'd refill a couple times and go get more disgusting sour cream and onion potato chips and cherry Coke, and I'd just play video games all afternoon. I didn't have much focus or direction. I didn't have a lot of friends at that time. And this was the experience. So I came home one day, 13 years old, and my dad's car is parked in the driveway, and he was never home that early in the afternoon. And so it's like, huh. And I go up to the front door. I open the front door. And I go into the hallway, and then I go into the living room. My dad's sitting on the couch. And the reason he's sitting on the couch is because he'd been laid off. He'd lost his job. And my family went from a comfortable middle-class family to really struggling to get by. I mean, I don't want to overstate it. We weren't homeless or anything like that. But we were really struggling for a period of time. My mother had to work as much as she could. We had to slash expenses as much as possible. And we really struggled. And I desperately wanted my dad to just call someone up and say, give me a job. But he didn't have that kind of network. He didn't have those kinds of connections. It wasn't something he could do. And so it inspired me. It's inspired me to really study what successful people do so that that wouldn't happen to me. And so during my teenage years, I devoured biographies and autobiographies. I devoured studying athletes and directors and documentary producers like Marisa was one day back in the day. Athletes and actors and entrepreneurs and politicians, and I studied what they did in order to be successful. And what I found was universally across the board, what they all did is they all did a good job of building relationships. They did a good job of building a network with the right people. And so what I did was I applied that to my life in my later teenage years. And if you flash forward 10 years from that picture of chubby old me holding the trophy, I don't even know how I got that trophy, by the way. I think I might have just borrowed it from someone for the sake of the pictures. But anyway, so if you flash forward 10 years from that picture of me at 13 years old, well, at 20 years old, I've been an early employee at DreamWorks working for Steven Spielberg, Jeffrey Katzenberg, and David Geffen in Hollywood, like Marisa. At 20, except much lower on the totem pole, 23 years old, I landed a dream job. My dream job as a writer in the Clinton White House. And I was on a fast track to a career in politics, becoming a speechwriter for a presidential candidate, maybe even running for Congress myself one day. And after the White House, I went to work as a speechwriter to the governor of California. And things were going great. So the governor just gotten reelected to another 4-year term. I had just, working in politics was really good to me. I got to meet amazing people. This was me with Barack Obama before he became president. And I just met a great girl and bought my first house, so life was great. And then one day it all came crumbling down. So you guys might recognize this guy, another Hollywood figure. So a little action movie star by the name of Arnold Schwarzenegger decides to join the recall election. This is back in 2003, the California recall election, and the rest was history. So I was working for the guy who is now known, the governor who is now known by history as the governor to precede Arnold Schwarzenegger. And so that's right, I was terminated by the Terminator. Not many people can say that. And here we are. We're back in the same situation, except this time it's my house. This time it's my car parked in the driveway in the middle of the day at a time of day that I should not be home. It's this time it was my butt parked on the couch in my own living room. But guess what? History actually did not repeat itself. There was a silver lining. So I was able to get a job immediately. I was able to walk out of the governor's office and walk right into a new job. And it worked out with the girl. So that's Nicole. We now have 2 kids, Mason and Toby. And the experience taught me the incredible importance of building strong relationships and a large network. Building strong relationships with the right people is the #1 thing you can do to be successful in business. And don't just take my word for it. So how about Richard Branson? He knows a thing or two. Succeeding in business is all about making connections. It's all about personal contact. You need to get out and about meeting people and developing relationships. And the man knows a thing or two about building successful businesses. So here's what we're going to cover here today. So I'm going to explain how I went from terminated to 6 figures and up. Examples of others making 6 to 7 figures a year by connecting with VIPs. I'm going to give you a 5-step process for creating cold emails that stand out from the crowd. You guys are really going to want to pay attention during that section. I'm going to explain a course that I have. It's called Connect with Influencers to grow your business by building relationships with VIPs and influencers, and then we'll do Q&A at the end. Okay? So first, how I went from terminated to 6+ figures per year. So after I lost my job in the California recall election, I decided to reboot and go back to law school. And I paid my dues working for other law firms, and I was working my butt off, so 60+ hour weeks, and I was miserable. I didn't see my family. I hated it. The problem was, this was the problem, okay? I was not building a network. I was relying on my boss's network. I wasn't thinking like an entrepreneur. And right now, whether you're an employee or not, you need to think like an entrepreneur. You need to be reliant on your own network. I decided to apply the relationship building skills that I'd honed in politics and in Hollywood to building my network in business. And that's when everything changed for me. So I took the leap, and I was able to start my own business. This is over 4 years ago now. I opened my doors, and all the relationship building paid off. So my first month, I made over 3 times what I'd made at my previous job. In under 3 years, I made over $500,000. Now, that may be large to some of you. That may be small to others of you. But the point is, it was all from the relationships that I had built. So, and since that point, I've been profiled in Forbes. I've been profiled in books. I've spoken at conferences, hold my own conferences, as I showed you. It all happened because I built a network of VIPs who mattered to my career. It happened because I know how to email and I know how to connect with VIPs. It's not just about being able to send an email once and get a response. It's really about so much more than that. So let me give you some case studies here. Let me give you some examples of some others making 6 to 7 figures per year, connecting with VIPs, influencers, and people who matter. By the way, I'm going to use those terms kind of interchangeably, VIPs, influencers, people who matter. So this is Jeremy Hall. Jeremy has an amazing story. He spent about 15 plus years, almost 20 years, forces. He actually was in the activity, which is a tier 1, kind of like the Green Berets or the Navy SEALs, except a lot more secretive. Crazy, crazy stuff, like over in Iraq and Afghanistan, all this kind of stuff. I asked him once, do you have any pictures of yourself over there? He said, no. I was like, you were there for years. He was like, no, I have no pictures. That's how secretive it was. So, amazing guy. But the interesting thing about him is after all that experience, he had no private sector experience, 0. He was actually, when I met him, he was a philosophy major living in Minneapolis in the middle of the United States, about 1,500 miles from the coast, right? And he was interested in working for a tech startup, okay? Interested in working for a tech startup, living on the coast, and wanted to work, living in the middle of America and wanted to work for a tech startup. So you'd think, you know, all those jobs really are on the coast. Now, I met him when he joined one of my courses, when he joined my Connect with Influencer course. And when I met him, I was like, okay, man, this is a long shot. Like, even I was like, okay, you don't know anyone in the tech industry, and you don't know, you don't have any connections. How are you going to get a job in tech, man? But he worked harder than I've ever seen, and he proved that it's possible to go from 0, nothing whatsoever, and create amazing connections. So what did he do? Well, he used nothing but free tools. Free tools like Twitter and email, started sharing relevant content, started discovering relevant content, started following people on Twitter that he looked up to, who worked at the companies that he wanted to work for, the people that he wanted to get to know, and he started observing what content they were sharing. And he started reading it and devouring it, and he started finding new content and then sharing that with them, both on Twitter and via email. And then he started making introductions. As he started meeting people, he started introducing VPs to VPs, marketing execs to marketing execs, CEOs to CEOs. He was consistent. He was focused. He started putting a plan into action, and he didn't stop until he connected with the CEO of Lead Pages, an amazing company based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. He actually went and had a beer with the CEO of Lead Pages, Clay Collins, and he was so impressed with Jeremy that the CEO actually created a new position for him. He said he's going to be reporting directly to me. They had 100 people working for him at the time. They had a whole HR department. No. Jeremy leapfrogged all that and went to work directly for the CEO, and he's promoted twice in his first 2 months. He's since gone on to work, now he's working in Silicon Valley, but it gave him his start. Amazing to see how you can go from nothing to really something. This is Bill Yarosh. The interesting different story here. So Bill Yarosh was running a small community newspaper in Florida, okay? And he had a very modest goal. He wanted to increase their ad revenue from about $10,000 a month. They were getting about $9,000 a month in ad revenue and wanted to increase that upwards. And so he started implementing some of the strategies that I advocate. So he began building real relationships with advertisers, potential advertisers. He started using humor in emails. He started writing handwritten notes. He did all of these things. And check this out. He sends me an email. Look at the highlighted part down at the bottom there. After 3 months, our newspaper advertising went from 9 pages to 20 pages. So that's from $9,000 to $20,000. So that's 90 days. He doubled his revenue just from using these strategies, from $9,000 to $20,000. So it does work, he says. This is Chris Johnson. This is interesting. So Chris is the founder of Simple Film. It's a video production company based in Portland, Oregon. And I looked up the statistic a few months ago, It turns out there's about 7,000 different video production companies throughout the United States. So it could very easily be a forgettable video production company. But he had a big goal. He wanted to work with some of the top nonfiction business authors out there. That's what he set as his goal. He wanted to create these short little video trailers for new books that come out for business book authors. And so how did he do it? Well, what he did is he took his existing network, he took the people that he knew already, and he divided them into 3 buckets based on priority. That's right. He prioritized people who are more important to his business than others, because the fact is, not everyone you know is of equal priority. And so what he did is he started following up with them regularly, providing introductions, advice, help, value. And I've seen him do this. It was amazing. So he knew, he calls me up a couple of weeks ago, and he knows that I have on my bucket list, one of my goals is to write a book for a best-selling book for a traditional publisher, not just like a Kindle book type of thing, but for a traditional publisher. And to do that, you need to get an agent and you need to get a publisher. So he calls me up the other day and he says, "Hey John, just want to let you know I'm actually meeting tomorrow with a really high-level business book author. I mean, this is an author who represents a number of this is an agent that represents a number of authors that you have definitely heard of. So there's a really high-level agent that he was meeting with, and he represents a number of really high-level authors." And I was like, "Holy crap, absolutely!" He says, "Like, would you want me to tell him about you?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." So he was just thinking top of mind. He's keeping people top of mind and thinking, how can I follow up? How can I provide value? He's not calling me up and saying, "Hey John, do you know anyone who could work with me, or do you know anyone who would hire me?" He doesn't do that. Instead, he provides value to them. He's following up, providing introductions, advice, that sort of thing. And so, as a result, check this out. Simple Film has worked with some of the biggest business book authors out there: Ariana Huffington, Seth Godin, Ryan Holiday, Robert Greene. All these authors have hired this tiny video production company based out of Portland, Oregon, because of the way that he has implemented this strategy. Really amazing. And he did about $1 million last year and on track to do about $2 million this year. Pretty incredible. All right, let's go through the 5-step process. I'm going to first give you the 5 steps, and then we're going to dive into them, and we're going to break them down for you. Hopefully you have a pen to write some of this down, okay? So, number 1, grease the wheels. Number 2, brevity is king. Number 3, communicate how you'll benefit them. Number 4, make it fun. Number 5, find commonalities. As I said, I'm going to break these down individually. I'm going to give you a bunch of examples. Let's go back to Noah Kagan, who I mentioned earlier. I'm going to use him as an example. He's the one who sent me the cookies. Okay, I'm going to use him as an example, but think of this being any person that you want to connect with. Okay, it's just a stand-in as an example for any person you want to stick with, you want to connect with. So, this is a little embarrassing, but for the sake of the Online Business Superhero Summit, I'm going to share this. So when I first tried to contact Noah, I did it all wrong. Marisa, I hope you're really appreciative because I'm going to embarrass myself right now. I did it all wrong. This is the email. This is the actual email that I sent when I first tried to connect with Noah. It says, "Okay, hi there. First of all, I'm sending it to the Contact Us form on the website," which is not a good idea. I say, "Can I interview Noah? I would love to ask about his experiences building AppSumo and working on other startups." Okay, boring. I would publish and publicize the interview on my blog, which at that time was called California Law Report, which caters to entrepreneurs and business owners. It would probably run 30 to 45 minutes. Oh, my God. We would record the interview using phone or Skype. Ugh. The one thing I did right is I included some links to past interviews that I've done down below. But other than that, what I'm asking for here is a huge inconvenience. And it's from someone who he didn't even know. I'm like reaching out to their Contact Us form. And the people who usually respond to stuff like that, their job is to screen out people. So all they're going to do is be like, you know what, I think we're going to pass. This is not such a good idea. And that's exactly what they did, and that's exactly what they should have done, because I was writing for a no-name blog. I had no real reason for them to want to say yes to my requests, especially for someone who's been interviewed a lot of different places. So let me ask you guys, say yes in the chat if you want to see the email that got me the box of cookies. Because if not, I'll just skip over it and it's not that helpful for you, if it's not that helpful for you guys. But if you do, then I'll show you the email that got me the box of cookies, and I'll even break it down for you guys. Okay? So say yes in the chat if you want to see them. All right. I'm seeing people saying yes, so we're gonna do it. So here it is. Here's what I said. Interview for Art of Manliness, ? Now, let me explain. Art of Manliness is a blog that is a very, very high traffic blog. I think it's a top 1,000 blog in the globe, which is just insane. So it's a very, very high traffic blog that receives a ton of targeted traffic, okay? So I say, interview for Art of Manliness, question mark. Hey, Noah, thanks for your tweet about my Art of Manliness post mentioning you. I'm actually doing another piece for Art of Manliness about why people should share their failures, and I wanted to see if I could grab 5 to 7 minutes of your time to talk, preferably via Skype, about your Facebook experience and what effect talking about it openly has had on others. The basic idea of the piece is that sharing your failures makes people more human and relatable. Okay, now let me explain. Facebook experience. He had been employee number 30 at Facebook, and a year later he was fired. And it's a topic that he's a little bit fascinated with. He's written books, blog posts. He's even taught a creative live course on the idea of failure. He's kind of fascinated by it. But in spite of that, I guarantee you, very few people reach out to him and ask to interview him about that topic, even though he is a bit fascinated with it. I say, let me know if you're interested, and we can set it up. John. P.S. Here's me quoting our mutual friend Andrew Warner in Forbes, a little social proof there. P.P.S. Here's another Forbes piece I wrote featuring your buddy Ramit. P.P.P.S. I love tacos too, so I can't be a bad guy. Okay, let's break these down here. First of all, subject line. It needs to be relevant, it needs to be beneficial to the recipient, and there needs to be some familiarity baked in. Okay? All those things need to be accomplished in a very short subject line. And if it's really short, you're going to grab their attention even more because most subject lines are way too long. We scan through our inbox and we see names we don't recognize and we see a very long subject line, and people just don't even open the email to begin with. So, and then in the actual first paragraph, you've got to capture their attention really fast. So you need to clearly articulate the benefit, not to you, to them, to the recipient. You need to explain the benefit to them. You need to sell them on why you want them to do whatever it is you're asking them to do. It needs to be clearly articulated in that first paragraph there. Now, another thing I really like to do is to be casual and have a little bit of fun, because I guarantee you a lot of the emails that are received by the VIPs, by the influencers, the highly successful, the multiple seven-figure type of business owners, the types of people that you want to connect with, maybe bloggers, maybe podcasters, successful bloggers or podcasters, the types of people you want to connect with, they receive a ton of emails. And here's the problem. They're very formal and stiff. Marisa, I bet you'll second me on this. The types of emails that you receive, aren't they very formal and stiff a lot of times?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're not like, joking, not fun kind of thing, And when you get an email that's fun and joking around, do you respond to those?
Definitely. If someone doesn't sound like a human, I probably don't want to get into conversation with them. If the email's been written by a robot or a help center, it's not that interesting.
That's the other problem, is sometimes if it looks really stiff, you assume that it's been blind carbon copied to a bunch of people, or they used a mail merge, right?
Totally. Someone actually sent me an email that was this templated form, and I said, take me off your newsletter. She's like, this isn't a newsletter. This is a direct email to you. I'm like, well, it looks like a newsletter. So, yeah.
Yeah, you don't want that reaction. You don't want someone reading it and being like, oh, this is a newsletter that someone added me to. Right. So thank you for that, Marisa. Yeah. So being casual, having fun, you're much more likely to stand out in someone's inbox. And I'll give you an example of it in a moment. But take a look at this email. Lowercase first letter. Why? Because it's unusual. It's more like an email that you'd send to a friend. What about the question mark at the end? Do you see a lot of question marks in your subject line? No, you really don't. You see a lot of asterisks and all caps, so that's another thing. But a question mark is unusual, okay? It begs curiosity. It inspires some kind of uniqueness or unusualness, so people are more likely to open it up. And then other things. I say your buddy. There's no period at the end of some of my sentences. It's the type of email that you would send to a friend and a friend would receive. The other thing is your time commitment, very short. Whatever it is, when you're first reaching out to someone, when you're reaching out to them, you need to make sure that the time commitment is very short. That's why I said 5 to 7 minutes. So all the questions need to be pre-answered. Who, what, where, when, why. Who, what, where, when, why. All those things need to be pre-answered so that the person doesn't have to respond and ask you to fill in any of those details. So let's go to step number 1, grease the wheels. So what did I do? In this case, what I did was I wrote about Noah in a couple of different occasions. I wrote about him in Forbes and Art of Manliness. At the time, I contribute for Forbes now, but I wasn't at the time. And I was a contributor for Art of Manliness. So I mentioned him in 2 different articles. Okay, now, wheels are spinning. There we have about 500 people on live here right now, and I guarantee you someone's thinking, well, what if you don't write for Forbes? Well, that's a great point. Not all of us write for a very large publication. If you do, that's great. The bigger the publication, the better. But I want to give you an example of how you can employ this strategy without writing for a very large publication. You don't have to be an op-ed writer for the New York Times in order to employ this strategy. So I get this email from this guy, Liam Gill, a while ago. Liam was like a 19 or he still is like a 19 or 20-year-old kid still in college. And he says, in 2 months I've been subscribed to you. My networking abilities and future outwork have completely changed. Last week I was able to get contact information and replies for 3 different NHL teams, as well as the personal email and reply from Mark Cuban. Check this out. First of all, you see his website down at the bottom there? It's a free WordPress site. Nothing special or anything like that. Free WordPress site. But check this out. He actually connects with Mark Cuban and did an interview with him and published it on his own personal blog. Mark Cuban, you guys know who Mark Cuban is, right? He's on Shark Tank. He's the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, started broadcast.com. He's one of the phenomenal entrepreneur, billionaire. I think that's a picture of him on his jet, okay, smoking a cigar. So all he did was take it and put it on his blog. So if Liam can do that, then I guarantee you can employ this strategy as well. So what I did with Noah is after I'd written that article, those articles for the first one for Forbes, I knew he was active on Twitter. That's another key point. You want to communicate with the person where they communicate the best. I have people send me messages all the time on Skype. I don't use Skype as an inbox, and people send me messages on Skype because they use Skype a lot. So make sure you note that point. Okay, you want to communicate where the person you're trying to connect with communicates best. At that time, he was really active on Twitter, so I sent a message to him on Twitter. Same thing with Art of Manliness. In fact, in that case, he actually discovered it first. I'd written and published the article, and he contacted me on Art of Manliness. And then after that, I tried to continue the dialogue. Okay, what does that mean? I tried to continue provide value and continue to have my name show up so he would see who I was. So a couple of days later, he posts on Twitter, it says, "Can someone please invent a doctor's office that sees patients on time?" ? I responded and said, "I always try and schedule doctor's appointments first thing in the morning. Less chance they'll be running late and we'll take you on time." It reads a little bit preachy and annoying to me. I don't know about you guys. And in retrospect, I'm looking at that and I'm like, wow, that was really annoying. But you guys get the point. The point was I was trying to be helpful to him. Number 2, brevity is king. Okay, over 100 years ago, Jack London, the author of Call the Wild, said just a tip of advice: never write on both sides of the sheet when you were sending a letter to a busy man. Here's the problem. Back then, we were limited by the amount of paper and postage and how much we could send in messages. Now we're not. Now we have digital ink. So now we can send an email with 5,000 words on it or 10,000 words on it. Now, does that mean that we should? No, that is not a good idea at all. Sending 5,000 words to someone you've never met before, horrible idea. Here's an example. This is an email that I received a while back. Subject line, INT period 3-30 MON. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. Small business costliest property and liability insurance claims. Then I open it up and it looks like a press release that's being sent, and I'm BCC'd. It's not even directly addressed to me, so I have no clue what is going on. I'm just confused at this point, and it's way too long. Then I hop up to the top. I look at the first line. It says, "Our 2 small business experts are available for an audio interview with you." Then it kind of clicks. I'm like, okay, wait, hold on a second. I'm a podcaster. They must be reaching out to me and saying that they could offer these people as a guest on my podcast. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. Now, does my podcast focus on property and liability insurance claims? No, it does not. It has nothing to do with that. So I don't know why they thought that that was a good idea at all. But, one other tip here for you guys. So you know how in Gmail there's a little picture of the incoming message, a picture of the person who's just emailed you. Well, that picture actually comes in from your Google Plus profile page. So whatever you use as your headshot for your Google Plus profile page, like perhaps your online business superhero summit cartoon avatar, for example, if whatever it is, it pulls it in. So I click on it. That was the picture of the email of the person that sent me that email. So just a little tip: if you're going to send quasi-professional messages to people, you might want to get a little bit more professional headshot than using one with a faux unicorn on your head. Here's another email I received. "Hello, John. Thanks for the webinar invite. I found it valuable and spot on." Okay, that sounds great. I'm like psyched. I'm like, oh, that is so awesome. I'm so glad to hear it, that person found it valuable and spot on. It was this exact webinar, by the way. I was doing this webinar and giving them the exact same tips that you guys are getting here today. but this is not the full email. This is the full email I got from the guy. This is the full email. Like, just way too long, way too much information. I didn't know what's going on here. The yellow highlighting actually came through. That was actually in the email there. And then I finally figured out they actually wanted me to introduce them to Matt Damon and Steven Spielberg, neither of which I have a close personal relationship with, but never mind that. I'm not sure why they thought that I would just, you know, throw out that little favor, especially when it was actually that person was actually trying to get something from both of them. And then look, if you look at the very bottom, it says, please excuse my verbosity, consider this 2 shorter emails. Okay? That is not a great strategy at all. Just keeping it shorter is a much better approach rather than apologizing for it being 2 longer emails. So here is another email that I sent. This is a lot better way of being succinct, okay? Possible mixer guests, Bjork and Lindsay Ostrom and Pincho Yum. So my friend Andrew Warner has got a podcast called Mixergy. It's been around for a long time. And I send him emails from time to time suggesting different guests for his to be on his podcast. And when I do that, I keep it very, very short and very, very succinct. I mean, the first sentence says it all. I thought perhaps Bjork and Lizzie Ostrom would make good potential guests for Mixergy. We're not getting creative or anything like that. It's just straight into the point. Then the other thing that I do is if I want to provide additional information, I don't put 5,000 words in the email. I include links out to additional sources of information so that Andrew or someone who works for him can look and determine whether they would be a good guest for the podcast. Okay, so the additional information is just linked out, and they can go and do that. I even include a link to an interview that was pretty in-depth so they can evaluate whether they'd be a good guest. Much better approach that way. Number 3, communicate how you will benefit them. I think you guys have gotten the point so far, but you really need to communicate how you will benefit them. Okay, possible benefits. Now, we've been talking primarily about doing an interview. Now, the amazing thing about doing an interview is it provides exposure, publicity, PR, whatever you want to call it, for your recipient. And you can use it in many different ways. If you don't have a podcast, you can use an article. You can write a blog post. You can do a journal. You can use a local community newspaper. The point is, whatever industry you're in, look at what would be most relevant to the person you're trying to reach out to. Now, there's other benefits you can communicate. An introduction is a tremendous one. I've done this. I've reached out to people that I don't know, people I've never met before, and said, I'd like to introduce you to someone else, some other person, even if it's my first attempt to connect with that person. Why? Because it's providing value to that person rather than asking for something. Another one is a testimonial, simply reaching out and saying, I'd like to give you a testimonial for your product, your course, your event, you know, your book, whatever it is, or just going and doing it, like literally just going out and doing it. Another benefit is promoting a product or book. Like if you know someone has a product or a book or a business that they're launching or something like that, reaching out to the person and saying, I'd like to help you with that. And then finally, a recommendation or a resource. It can be related to a personal interest, too. You know, like if you know that someone has some kind of particular personal interest, like they love Thai food, or they're crazy about cycling, or they love yoga or something like that, just reaching out and giving them a recommendation or a resource is another great way to communicate a benefit to that person. Here's an example. For example, my friend Susan Lorenz, the author of How to Work a Room. It's a great book. I take a look at it on Amazon. It's only got 27 customer reviews. So what can you do? Just go out and write a review. Then send an email to that friend and say, hey, look, I just wrote this review on Amazon. I guarantee you, I know a lot of authors. I guarantee you, every author wants one more positive review, or 2 or 10. Okay? They will love you if you write a positive review of their book. They all love it. Okay? It doesn't matter how big they are. Now, here's an example. Asherita wanted to connect with authors. And so she began creating these video book reviews. This is like one step further. I love this strategy. Anyone can do this, okay? So this is so easy to do. Did you know you don't need any special software? All you need to do is go directly into YouTube. You go into YouTube, and then you click record this video, and then you can record directly from your video cam. I mean, every laptop these days comes with a embedded webcam in the laptop, and you just hold up a copy of the book if you have it, look directly into the camera, and then record a 2 to 3 minute video recording, just reviewing that book, saying why you like that book. And all you need to do is upload it directly to YouTube. You can take it later and embed it in your blog if you like, but if you're not that techie or if that's a barrier or something like that, then doesn't even matter because people will find it organically in YouTube. So that's what Asherita started doing. She sends me an email a little while after that and says, authors and publishers love to see the video reviews. They've helped promote the videos to their followings through shares and retweets and Two even agreed to follow-up video interviews. How about that? She goes from just reading these books from a distance, admiring these authors, and then through just recording these simple little videos and uploading them to YouTube and betting them on our blog, she's getting follow-up video interviews with these authors that she admires. And then from there, sky's the limit, okay? After you've done that, that's your opportunity to continue going from there and continue deepening the relationship. Here's another example. Jacqueline Duplessis was a woman that I connected with a while back. We were introduced by someone else, and then a short while after that, she emails me a follow-up and says, I thought you might be interested in knowing how to get your URLs branded, like how big companies like the New York Times and others do in their social feeds. So if you look at the New York Times on Twitter, when they share things, it says like nyti.ms/ and then a couple letters and numbers, and that's how they share different articles on their Twitter feed. And I didn't know how to do that. I'll guarantee you a lot of the people on here don't know how to do that. But what she did was she made a quick video and included exactly how I could do it. So if I click on the video, it's an unlisted video in YouTube. And what I love about this, it was only about 6 minutes long. It was catered directly for me. It took her 6 minutes to record it. And she can do it over and over and over again. So if you find some kind of unique value, something that you can do that's unusual, okay, something that's unusual that not everyone knows how to do, and that is of utility to your recipient, you can just rinse and repeat. You can just do it over and over again, and people will be appreciative. They'll remember you. They'll remember you, and that's half the battle sometimes. Here's another example. I did my first Blab Hangout a while back. Marisa, have you ever done a Blab Hangout before? Is they new to you?
I have not done a Blab Hangout.
Well, I've done one, so I'm experienced in Blab Hangouts. But you should absolutely try it. It's kind of like Periscope, but web-based. So it's kind of fun. So yeah, definitely do one. So we did one a while back, and we had all these audio problems. It was kind of a little bit of a disaster. Fun, but it didn't exactly work all that well. There's some tech hiccups in the process. And we had Jordan Harbinger from Artistrom there and Jeremy Weiss from Inspired Insider. And we were doing it. And then this woman in the top right-hand corner just popped on in the middle of it. She was just observing it. Her name's Marika. And she starts troubleshooting the audio problems because she'd done a bunch of Blab Hangouts. I didn't even know who she was. It turns out Jeremy had known her, but she just like starts helping us out throughout it. And so like the first 20 minutes, it was so Marisa this is like a Bentley, and our Blab Hangout is like a Toyota Tercel by comparison. So it's like 20 minutes of tech like troubleshooting. It was embarrassing. But this is the interesting point. So afterwards, after we did that, in addition to helping us at the event, this like we called her our angel. This room was like our angel. So Mamika sends me an email afterwards saying she enjoyed being there. Since then, I put together a Blab interview prep sheet to help guests better prepare. I went ahead and created a white-labeled version for you, too, so you can share with your own guests for any future Blabs that you do. And check it out. This is exactly it. All she did, she was creating it kind of for herself, and then she took it and then just removed her logo and sent it to me so that I could use it as well. How considerate is that? How thoughtful is that? You know, just an amazing little gesture to do something like that, and it makes such an impression when you do that. And it was just like what you saw with Jacqueline Duplessis. It was an unusual thing that she did, but it provided a tremendous amount of value to me. So number 4, make it fun. I talked about this a little bit before. So a while back, I introduced Manish Sethi to Brett McKay. Brett's the founder of Art of Manliness, and I introduced them because Manish was interested in meeting Brett. And at the time, Manish was launching a new company called Pavlok. It's kind of like those Fitbit belts that you see everyone wearing. I'm probably the only one in the world that doesn't wear one, but kind of like that, except it shocks you if you don't do certain things. So long story short, don't go to the gym, get electrocuted. If that's not manly, I don't know what is. And then down at the bottom he says, any interest in getting shocked yourself? Because the Lord knows I want to do it to you. Now what I love about this is I'm sure Manish was thinking, man, if I could get on the Art of Manliness podcast, which gets a tremendous amount of downloads, if I could get on that podcast, it would really help my business. But does that mean that he's all formal and stiff about it? And does he immediately ask, can I be a guest on the podcast? No. In fact, if you actually read the paragraph, that's the third to last paragraph, he says, John recommends I chat with you about positioning, marketing, etc. Also, I want to help you out in any way I can, be it by spreading your posts or writing content for you. hosting your content or introducing you to anyone you ought to know. Isn't that so amazing? Here he is launching his own business. I'm sure he's working 100 hours a week on launching his own business, and this wonderful opportunity comes along, and he's trying to help and provide value first. And that's exactly how it's done. And guess what? You know what? It worked out, because a couple of months later, he was a guest on the Art of Manliness podcast, so it does work. Here's another example. How do you like this subject line, Marisa? Killer tacos in SF.
That's an awesome subject line. I would open that. I would totally open that, yes.
Me too. I was like, what is this about? And I love tacos. I love Mexican food. I don't know about you. So we have to love tacos, right? You love tacos?
Of course.
Yeah, she says yes. Okay, good. Yes. So she said, I'm a friend of Noah's, back from when I still used to live in Austin. Just read your article on OK Dork about cold emails and loved it. My experience is very similar to yours in that all the amazing things that happen in my career life are a result of reaching out to interesting, successful people. Or more importantly, at the present moment in time, interesting, successful people who know where to get killer tacos in San Francisco. So here's the thing. She had moved to San Francisco. I've lived in San Francisco for a number of years. She knows that I like tacos because I'd mentioned it in a couple of different places online. She'd done that research, and so she's asking me, where can you get good tacos? And I immediately responded, and I gave her like 5 or 6 different recommendations, like, oh, there's here, and you go here, and depends on what kind of taco you want. Did you want burritos too? Do you want quesadillas? You know, I go through all these different options. And but here's what I love. Down at the bottom, if you go a little bit further down, she says, please let me know how I can help you in return, as if it's like such an inconvenience, right? My business is hiring high-level assistants for CEOs and celebrities. Interesting how that's buried down there. Now imagine if she had led with that, right? Like, Marisa, if you'd got an email or led with that, like, would you even respond? You probably, I mean, you're nicer than I am, so you probably...
Maybe not, you know? At the same time, I'm nice, but there's got to be a limit to people's niceness.
Yeah, right. I mean, like, if someone just emails you out of the blue and says, like, I'd like to place a high-level assistant for you, if you don't have a need at the time, then you're like, okay, that's great, thank you, I'll mental note, and then you forget it, kind of thing. But instead, she emails me about the tacos and leads with that, and then down below. So, long story short, I've referred her to a bunch of people because I just have a positive, you know, feeling towards her, because she approached me with something that was more accessible, more personal, and it was, you know, it was just a lot more thoughtful. So, you know, as a result of that, I've referred her to a bunch of other people. I don't know if it's turned a business to her or not, but the point is, that's how you get referred. Number 5, find commonalities. Okay. So this is the email I sent to Dan Pink, the author of Drive and To Sell is Human, Free Agent Nation. Just want to check in with you and see if there are any coordinated effort for promoting your new book. Now, I found the commonality. I found what we had in common. In our case, Dan and I worked for the same place around the same time. In our case, it was the White House. But for you, it could be Blockbuster Video. It could be Starbucks. It could be that you're both from the same small town in North Carolina. It could be that you're both huge fans of the New York Yankees. It could be that you both are absolutely crazy about Ethiopian food. Whatever it is you have in common, find what that thing is when you're reaching out to someone and use it, because people are far more likely to build up trust for someone if they are given that opportunity. If they know that they have something in common with that person, they're far more likely to move along in the chain, so to speak. Here's another example. This is Jesse Mendoza, young guy up in Washington State. I was intimidated to reach out to important and influential people, and now I know how I can add value. This has helped me. Now listen to this. I recently met up with a candidate for mayor in my hometown who was quite impressed by my pre-work that I had done on him, that he would like me to be on his campaign and go door to door with him. This could be a great long-term connection I can build upon. Now, what did he find in common? This guy's campaign. If you guys have ever met anyone who's running for office, there's one thing that they care about. It's their campaign, okay? So if you can connect and have something in common with the thing that they're most passionate about, that's most urgent for them for a period of time, then you can build a tremendous relationship with them. And so the amazing thing is Jesse's followed up with me afterwards. He's been profiled in his local newspaper. Mendoza is a talented young leader to watch. And so that candidate ended up getting elected to office, introduced Jesse to all the different council members there, and he's been appointed to a number, like I think it's 2 different boards and commissions in his town. So just from finding that commonality and then going out there, he actually has become quite the mover and shaker in his local town. So does that seem pretty simple? I've broken it down for you guys. I've given you the 5 different point system of how you can craft cold emails, but there's really a lot more that we haven't covered. You know, we don't have a huge amount of time here, so we can't be spending all day on it. But I do want to give you guys some additional points and different things to think about before we go away, before we do the Q&A here. So these are some things we haven't covered. So number one, how to conquer mindset, overcome fear of rejection, and lack of confidence. So I always, when I'm talking with someone about this idea, the idea of building a relationship with an influencer or a VIP, I always start here because your mind is your biggest barrier. Everyone thinks it's something else. They think like, oh, I can't find that person's email address, or I don't know what to say. It really isn't. It's your mindset, because we have this fear of rejection, and it voices itself like this: I don't know what I have of value. I don't know what I have to offer. I don't know why that person would be interested in meeting me or connecting with me. And if we don't say it out loud, we say it inside of our own heads. And I guarantee you this: if you went to a conference that was just for Fortune 400 CEOs, okay, so only CEOs of the largest 400 companies in the United States were only going to this conference, I guarantee you there would be one of those CEOs who at some point during that event would look across the room and see a CEO of a Fortune 100 company, okay, so a much bigger company, see them, and he'd think to himself, he maybe wouldn't say it out loud, but he'd think to himself, oh, you know, I'm not going to go up and meet that particular CEO because he's probably not interested in meeting me. And the reason I say that is because we all have these barriers, no matter what level you feel like you're at right now, whether you're just beginning or whether you're at the cream of the crop, whether you're CEO of a Fortune 400 companies, these barriers exist. So be cognizant of them and be aware that you need to overcome that on a daily basis. Number two, maximizing your productivity. The second biggest barrier that I hear from people is time. Okay, they say things like this: you know, man, I know it's all about who you know, but, you know, I just don't have the time. I wish I had the time. I know it's all about building relationships with the VIPs in my industry, but I don't have time. So they put it off, right? They put it off. So they're like, oh, I'll do it some other day. And so month after month, year after year goes by, and they don't put any effort into building those relationships. And that's why they fail to get ahead. So there are many things that you can do. I don't have time to talk about all of them here, but there are many things you can do to maximize your productivity and be more efficient and effective with your time, such as cutting out time wasters. We all have them. Maybe it's reality TV, maybe it's a sports team that you watch. Whatever it is, you've probably got something that's wasting your time. And I guarantee you this: if you put that aside, it will always be there later. And secondly, the relationship that you build now will be with you for life, okay? I think that I have demonstrated to you how that has continued to benefit me in my business. Number three, how to create your conversations list. Okay, I could do a whole hour-long presentation on this, but the point is this: a conversations list is a list of the 50 people who you would like to build and or deepen a relationship with over the course of the next 12 months. So it's a list of people that you admire, that you look up to. Maybe you know some of them already, maybe some of them you don't know. But it's really zeroing in and giving yourself a roadmap of the people who are most aligned with your business and who are most likely to help you and who you are most engaged and inspired to help, okay? Number four, how to lay the groundwork using social media. Okay, now the biggest complaint I hear from people about social media is that, oh man, it's such a waste of time. And the reason is because they don't use it effectively. I go on social media maybe 15 minutes a day, but I use it in a highly targeted way. And the main thing is being engaging. Okay, being engaging with social media. So what the problem people have is they go on social media, they go on Facebook or Twitter, Instagram or whatever, and they scroll through their friends' pictures, and all they do is observe. They don't engage. And that's the wrong approach to take. What you need to do is be engaging. If someone's posting someone on social media, they're asking for engagement. So being more engaging will guarantee you get more value out of them. Even when I was a 100% full-time lawyer, I got tons of business from Facebook because I used it in an engaging way. How to build relationships face-to-face. Of course, social media is never going to completely obliterate relationships face-to-face. So it's important to try and do everything you can to create those kinds of one-on-one, face-to-face types of interactions. And your relationships will never get over a certain barrier until you achieve that. So always trying to do things to get face-to-face, to go out to conferences, to events, to create events yourself. All those things help you to build stronger relationships with the people in your network. How to use email. Okay, now we talked about that a little bit, but I want to go a little bit more in depth because really all I talked about was one type of email, which was an email for an interview request. But there's so many different types of emails that you can use for nurturing relationship. Proactive emails is one type. Introduction emails is another one. Testimonials is another one. Resources and referrals, production, promoting production, email marketing, outbound email. So there are many different ways of using email, and it needs to be part of this larger system that I'm talking about here. So getting back to the main structure here, how to create a follow-up system is another point that I want to share with you guys, because it's one thing to reach out and connect with someone. Maybe you meet someone at a conference. Maybe you attend one of Marisa's live events. I know she has a number of live events. Maybe you connect with someone online by commenting on their blog post or something like that. The point is, you need to have a system for following up. If you don't have a system, I guarantee you nothing will happen. And here's what some people say, oh, I'll just try and remember, or, they put something in their calendar. That's not a system. You need to have a system in place for following up with those people who are most important. And this doesn't mean that you categorize 10,000 people and follow up with all of them. We take an 80-20 approach. You focus on the 20% who are going to lead to the 80% results. And then number 8, increasing your ROI and optimizing your system. So another thing that you should be doing, you should always be going back and reevaluating where you are in your business, because your goals will change. Like, for example, Marisa and Murray's business has changed dramatically over the last couple of years. It's been growing tremendously fast. Should she be building and nurturing relationships with the same people that she was building and nurturing relationships with 2.5 years ago? Maybe some, but there are many others that have changed. And by your goals change, your challenges change, there's so many different changes. And so you constantly need to be going back and evaluating, okay, am I building and nurturing relationships with the right people? Or should I be mixing it up? Should I be having new people to the system? You need to be constantly challenging yourself in that way. Okay, so I've given you the playbook, I've given you the overview. What more do you need? Well, here, I want to show you guys an email I received after this webinar. This is a while back. I got this email from this guy, and I need to share it with you guys. So this is what it said. I was just on the cold email webinar, so this very webinar, very informative and interesting. Now, check this out. Skip down to the second highlighted part. That's the sales pitch, okay? Second, I want to now introduce you to my product that you or your legal colleagues will love and be able to utilize in your firm. Take paperless depositions via laptop or iPad. Save money, less travel, easy to use, truly a better way. Would love to talk to you more about the product with you or someone you think could benefit from using the product. Now, I don't think of myself as a jerk, and that's why I blocked out his name. And I emailed the guy back in a nice way, and I said, do you realize, having been just on my webinar, do you realize that this was basically a sales pitch? And he emails me back and he says, I didn't realize I was doing it. He didn't realize he was doing it. So I think that's really interesting, because I think that we often forget. We're so quick to try and get to the sale that we want to rush this process from initial contact straight to the sale. And it doesn't work that way. It works much better if you take some time and you allow those relationships to nurture and to build over time. When you do that, you get much more powerful results, 10 times the results. So I want to ask you guys an important question. So who are you passionate about serving? Who are you passionate about serving? When you know your mission and you know who you're passionate about serving, emailing VIPs becomes easy. Your income, your impact, your influence, all of those things will rise as your network grows. The bigger your network, the greater your freedom. In fact, there's a saying, show me your friends and I will show you your future. Well, I prefer a slightly modified version of that. Your relationships will determine your future. Who you develop relationships with now, today, will determine your future. And there's a Chinese proverb that says, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. And so I believe that now is the time that you need to be building those relationships. And I ask you, do you want to leave your future to chance, or do you want to create the future that you deserve? I don't know about you, but I am solidly in the latter half of that question. So now, you guys, if you'd like to go deeper with this, I want to share with you a little bit of details about my course, and then we'll hop on over to Q&A, okay? So my course is called Connect with Influencers. It's how to grow your income, impact, and influence by building relationships with VIPs. And it's basically a system, a step-by-step system for building key relationships and leveraging them to build your business. Even if you feel like you have nothing to offer, even if you feel like you don't have any time, if you don't know any influencers or VIPs today, if you're introverted or shy or you don't know where to start. So this course includes all of these things. So I'm going to break it down for you. First, there's step-by-step video training where I break it down and you can watch all of these individual courses. I give you the different concepts step by step, okay? Second, there's the private community. So in addition to step-by-step video training, there's a private community. I'm really proud of this. Some amazing entrepreneurs and business owners that are constantly in there. They're workshopping different copy. They're suggesting different strategies, giving each other feedback. Really supportive community. I'm really, really proud of that. So in addition to the step-by-step video training, the private community, I also have my personal list of tools that I have used, vetted, and recommend, so that you can use all of those. You don't need to guess. You can use exactly the tools that I use for connecting with influencers. So in addition to the step-by-step video training, there's a private community, my personal list of tools that I recommend, and then I also have something I created called the Monthly Accomplishments Review and Results and Revenue Worksheets. Now, these are perfect for monitoring yourself and what you accomplish on a day-to-day basis and what you accomplish on a week-to-week and month-to-month basis will lead to the results that you achieve on an annual basis. So you can use these worksheets in order to follow along. So there's a video training, private community, list of tools, the monthly accomplishments review and results and revenue worksheets. And then in addition to that, at the elite level, I've got over 30 of my best performing email templates. So I got feedback from people who were in the original version of this course and they wanted more templates. So I created over 30 of my best performing email templates. It's in the email template toolbox, and these are amazing templates for all kinds of different purposes. So you get the video training, private community, list of tools, the worksheets, the email templates, then also at the level you get my email bullseye tool. I love this. So I hired a software development team to develop this for me. Have you guys ever thought to yourself, man, if I could only find that person's email address? Well, now this can help you solve it. So all you need to do is punch in the person's name, last name, and then the domain of their website, and it spits out a bunch of different versions of different possibilities, and then you plug them into some resources I give to you, and you will find that person's email address. Of course, nothing's guaranteed, but I use this tool, and I was able to find Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos of Amazon's email addresses within 60 seconds apiece. That's how effective it was. So everything included is over $2,100 value, but because I love what Maurice is doing here with the Online Business Superhero Summit, I want to give you guys some additional bonuses. So every person who signs up today before the end of the webinar will get access to my pre-recorded Networking with Purpose live videos, an action guide workbook, and to 60-minute coaching calls. So that's $127 value. And you can also get access to Find Time Now. This is taught by my colleague Mandy Ellison, and she shows you how to discover 20 to 40 hours per month. That's a $200 value. So if you're ever wondering yourself, man, how would I possibly, I just don't have any time, this will help you to discover it. So let me give you the different options here, and if you want to check out the sales page, you can go to connectwithinfluence.com/marisa-signup. There are 3 different levels. There's the $27 a month, 12 payments of $27. That's it, and then you're done paying, and you get the 40 videos, 8 different modules, private community, lifetime access, high definition videos, and training screencasts. Or at the elite level, now this is normally priced at 12 payments of $37. I'm going to explain in a moment. I've got a special deal for you guys. This is the most popular level, and in addition to the base level, you also get the email template toolbox with 30 of my highest performing email templates. You also get the email bullseye tool, find nearly any email address plus everything at the base level. And then finally there's CWI Ultimate, $997, one-time payment, and you get 2 personally tailored coaching sessions with me at that CWI, and everything at the CWI Elite level as well. Now, as I said, the normal price here is about $400 for CWI Elite, but this is the first time I've ever done this, but because I love what Maurice is doing here and I'm just honored to be included, I've observed this summit from afar before, and it's amazing to me to even be part of it. I slashed that down. So the Online Business Superhero Summit Special, $197 for CWI Elite. This is the lowest I have ever offered this, and I'm sure it's the lowest I ever will offer it. But I did it as a favor to Marisa, and because she looks fabulous in that costume she's wearing there. So $197 for CWI Elite. And if you have any questions, 60-day money-back guarantee. If you feel like it's not a good fit, I want to make sure it's a good fit for everyone, so you can always get your money back if it's not a good fit. Now, the special gift that I mentioned earlier, I talked about the conversation list. I've got a template for you guys. So if you go to connectwithinfluence.com/conversations list, you can download it there, and you can also get 5 free cold email templates from there as well. Now, Jeremy Hall said, the course was incredible. It gave me a step-by-step plan I could follow through on, and it gave me the confidence, tools, and ideas to start building relationships with VIPs in the tech industry. Now I'm making a comfortable income that allows me to live a great lifestyle. So love to see that kind of success. So now, Marisa, if you want to come back on, we can do some Q&A from people if anyone has any questions.
Absolutely. Nice job. Thank you so much. I feel like I learned, and I just actually pinged my executive assistant to buy this for us because I usually listen and buy like 2 or 3 of them myself where I think they're going to be useful, and this is always useful. This is like the strategy that never goes out of date.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Timeless.
It's like this is the wheel. This is the fundamental thing that has all business go round. And I remember one of my mentors, Brennan Burchard, said that there's only 2 ways to change your life. And one way is to bring something new out of yourself, and the second way is to bring someone new into your life. And what I love about your techniques is it's changing your life by bringing new people. And I've always believed that the people you're around are the people who really help you set the bar for what you want to accomplish in life. And by raising that bar and raising that bar and raising that bar and being around higher and higher level of people, I really think that that just rising tide lifts all boats. So I'm really excited about everything that you had to share, and thank you so much for so many practical strategies. And I know that it is the case that you've never discounted Connect with Influencers down to $197, and because this is a superhero summit and I asked all presenters to make an offer that's $200 or less, I had to convince John to drop this a couple $100 because it does have a lot of value. So thank you so much for doing that, and thank you for everything that you shared. And
thank you, Marisa. Yeah, and I see a bunch of people asking in the chat here for the links. I shared them both there so that they can grab them as well there.
Excellent. Thank you. And let's go into the questions. So Carol wants to know the question about the guarantees. So 60 days, no questions asked. Is that correct?
That's right, Carol. No questions asked. I want to make sure that it's a good fit for everyone, and maybe it isn't. So, you know, you can try it out and don't have to worry about whether it's a good fit. Just try it out. Let's see. Someone's asked for links for the templates. Those are there. Did you catch any other ones earlier?
Yeah, there's some questions that I have for you. So there's some really, really good ones. And this first one is from Carol, who says, I'm concerned about finding value that I can offer to an influencer. Do you have any ideas?
Yep. I mean, that's a version of what do I have to offer? What can I possibly offer some influencer? Carol, I would. Oftentimes people think that it needs to be related to their vocation. So they think, I'm a photographer, I need to help that person, give them portrait advice. And that's actually not true. You can actually, in my tweet to Noah, I give him advice on when to schedule doctor's appointments. That's kind of weird, right? Or it could be something related to a passion, a passion that they have, or shared passions, even better. Maybe the two of you are crazy about yoga, or maybe you're crazy about, I don't know, hiking in Hawaii, and you could share a hike that you discovered, find that unusual thing that you can share. If it is related to your vacation, make sure that it is something that is relevant to them, okay? A lot of times people are like, they try and press it onto the other person. Like, you guys ever get those emails from some SEO person who's like, yeah, I can SEO your website. Well, I don't want to SEO my website. But if like, for example, I need to hire, I don't know, an HR person, and someone came to me and said, hey, I saw you tweeted that you're looking for an HR person. Here's this great resource, and my sister-in-law actually works in HR, and I emailed her and asked her for recommendations on how to hire a good HR person. Here's what she said. Here's 5 different tips. Also, here's this book you might want to check out, which I found on Amazon. That makes a huge impact because it's relevant to the person, okay? So, Carol, be attuned to what that person needs, and also be mindful that whatever it is you have to offer, that person might be might be in the midst of something where the timing is not great. So maybe they're in the midst of building a business, maybe they're writing a book, maybe they're about to go on vacation. So sometimes the timing is not great. You have to work on it a little bit later.
That's a really, really good point. And one of the things that I've realized when it comes to rejection is, and I wonder your thoughts on this too, is that I never make any assumptions if I don't hear back from someone. And actually, even for the superhero summits, sometimes it took me 4 to 5 emails before I got a response from someone, but almost always eventually a response would come. At what point do you give up, and at what point do you just think, well, who knows, I don't know what's going on in their life?
Right, yeah, absolutely. Well, in this case, and Marisa knows a lot about rejection because she was in Hollywood, where you have to deal with a tremendous amount of rejection. So she's built up a thick skin, but a lot of us haven't. Maybe we just fell into a job, and so we're not used to that kind of rejection. But it's absolutely true. Emails just get lost. In fact, I know that you pinged me a couple times. Here I am kicking off your summit, and she had to ping me a couple times where I just didn't get caught up with it. Part of the reason was because I had my own retreat, which ended about a week ago. So you never know what's going on in someone's life. And also, Marisa had time urgency. So this summit was coming up. She didn't have the advantage of just wanting to reach out with someone at some point, whenever. There was a deadline. So if there's a time urgency, and first of all, once you've gotten that commitment, then you know that person's commitment, and it might just be that they're missing the emails. But if there isn't a time urgency, if you're just trying to maybe connect with someone, maybe you want to interview them or something like that, then what I say is send one email. If you don't get a response, try again about 2 weeks later. Send another email about 2 weeks later. If you don't get a response, then maybe wait until a different season in their life. So, for example, if any of you tried to email Marisa in the last 3 to 4 weeks, it was not a great time to reach out to her because she was crazy busy putting this whole thing together. So, but if you email her a week from now, you probably have a good chance of getting a response. So sometimes you just need to wait until a different season in their life. And if you don't get a response in that after that email about 3 months later, then maybe wait another 3 months after that and try again. Now, things work different for different people, so maybe you can compress that time frame. And you could do once, 2 weeks later, 2 weeks after that, 2 weeks after that. Eventually, you're going to hit a point when it's going to work for them. Another thing that I really like is doing the emails at different times of day. So, for example, I know if people call me in the middle of the day, I usually don't want to call them back because I'm just cramming, getting things done. But sometimes I get emails at 11 o'clock at night, and I'm just on my laptop watching Netflix or something like that, and I'm checking my email. I don't have anyone in my inbox. My assistant isn't up at that time because she's on East Coast hours, so I'm more likely to respond to an email around that time. So sometimes, doing unusual times can work.
Absolutely. So I hear just a couple chats. Joel's wondering how long this offer will be available, and basically it's available as long as John's replay, which is until midnight on Wednesday night. And I know there were a couple fast action bonuses too if you register on the webinar. Can you remind me what those are?
Yeah, so there is Networking with Purpose Live, which includes a workbook and a couple of recorded coaching calls as well that you get as well if you sign up during the webinar. And Carol's saying she's not saying the discounted price. Okay, I hope that's not a problem. We'll have to double check that. It might, Kimberly or Carol, it might have been if you were trying to do it through the 12-pay option. This is just the one-time offer. So just the one-time offer that has the discounted price. And then the other bonus was Find Time Now, led by Mandy Ellison, to help you discover an additional 20 to 40 hours. Special discount. I'm going to put the link in here again, Marisa.
Great. So, yeah, I see that there's like 4 different get started options. So is it they need to click on the Go Elite, or which one do they click on to get the right?
Yeah, it's the flat pay. Let me take a look here.
So we'll make sure we follow up. And I also see that Roger was asking if he wants to sign up for this later, after Wednesday midnight, can he? So John is offering this at $197 just for the Superhero Summit, so this is going to be one that's not available evergreen. So with all of these offers, we can't promise that you'll be able to get the same deal that we get during the Superhero Summit. And the only way I was able to get him to offer it is because he knows it's only for a couple days, because he doesn't want to undercut his sales in other places as well. So this is really the only time. So if it's not the best time, I recommend investing in it now and then just coming back in a couple of months or weeks when you're ready to use the program. Okay, so there's some questions too. Joel's asking, so the whole package is available for $197. I think it's the elite level that's available for $197. Is that correct, John?
That's right. Yeah, so that's the most popular level, is the CWI elite level, and it's just the one-time only payment, not the 12-pay option. 12-pay option is still the same, $37, and the elite level, the one that's normally $397 for a one-time payment, is down to $197. Now, I just sent a message to my team to double-check it about the pricing. So hopefully the pricing is correct, but it should be, if you click on Join CWI Elite and receive my email template toolbox, and then you click on the blue button, Get Started Now. It says Prefer to Pay One Time and Save $47. Click the button below. That's the one that you click on in order to save.
Actually, it looks like it's not correct. It goes to something that says $397. So,
okay.
Yeah, if you have a moment to just send your team an email so we can make sure that everybody is able to get in. And for anybody who's trying to get in and you haven't yet, we'll take care of it. And maybe we'll figure this out to make sure you get the right offer.
Yeah, they just sent me a message that said that was let me take a look here. I think it's the base level that is at $197. Yeah, so do this. So just sign up at the base level and we'll upgrade you to CWI Elite.
Got it.
Yeah, so if you sign up there, then we'll just change the so it's the first blue button. Sorry about the confusion, guys. The first blue button, which is the base level, it says Prefer to Pay One Time and Save $127. Click the button below. Get Started Now. If you click on that one, it does say $197, and we'll go in and change your setting to make sure that you get the CWI Elite level. So you'll also get the email template toolbox, and you'll also get the email bullseye tool.
Great, and if you're watching on the recording, then hopefully we'll have cleaned this up so it's easy, and maybe put a fast button at the top of the page, and so they can just click the button. What?
We were talking at the beginning about the craziness of live TV, right? Live webinars.
Yes. So yeah. Hopefully we can ask them to just put some quick link at the top of the page, and it'll be easier if you're watching this on the recording. And like John said, for now, click the first blue button, Get Started, under the first level of the course, and you'll be upgraded into Elite, and it's going to be one time for $197. And sorry about that confusion. So yes, Joan's saying do we get bullseye for the $197? The sales page is kind of confusing.
Sorry about that, Carol. Yeah, it is. Yes, you do get bullseye as well. So just buy the first blue button, and we will upgrade you to bullseye and to get the email template toolbox as well. Told you the bullseye was popular.
Yeah, totally. Someone was asking earlier in the chat, I say, is there a super ninja stealth way to get the personal email addresses of VIPs? And I guess that tool is the ninja stealth way, is that you created it.
Yeah,
awesome.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it doesn't exist anywhere else.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, this is that I know of. This is I mean, it's amazing because, and this is why I started with the issue of mindset, because to be honest, it is important to be able to find someone's email address. But the mindset issue is the first barrier. We often think it's something else, but it's often the mindset, just the fear that we don't have something to offer to someone is what stops us from reaching out initially.
Absolutely. And another mindset thing is you realize this was a problem and you just created a tool to fix the problem and help everybody find, direct email addresses for the people they're looking for. So that's really awesome. I didn't even know that was a technology that you developed yourself. So that's pretty superhero of you.
Exactly. I need my cape. It looks like Carol got signed up. Good, Carol. We will be sure to update you. And then Sarah asks, question on connecting with people. What if someone does not have social media accounts? Oh, man. God, that's crazy. Like, who doesn't have social media accounts? But I mean, some people don't, right? So oftentimes it's just they're active on a different social media platform than you. Maybe they're active on Instagram, you're active on Facebook. So I would be careful about that first. You know, make sure that you've looked to see that they're active on a different platform. And if they don't, there's old school email, right? There's mail, there's snail mail as well. There's going to events. That's another one as well. I mean, I don't necessarily think you need to spend thousands of dollars every time to meet someone, but if it's someone you really want to connect with, really want to meet, spend the money, invest the money, you know, to go to an actual event, a conference where you know they're going to be present.
Absolutely. When I was a filmmaker, we wanted to have feature Vandana Shiva, a Nobel Prize-winning Indian activist in the food revolution in our film, and so I actually went all the way up to Northern California to the Solar Living Institute Festival to meet Vandana Shiva, who was going to speak there, and of course she had to cancel her trip. So I went all the way up there, but she didn't show up, but she made it into her film anyway.
Oh man.
Totally.
But look at that. I mean, that's impressive to put that kind of effort in. And imagine the impression it makes on people, you know? I mean, I traveled from, you know, whatever distance to come here because I wanted to meet you. I mean, who isn't going to give you some time, right? I mean, they're going to give you some of your time, some of their time if you've done something like that, you know?
Totally. And we've got a question here from Mark, and there's a bunch more questions I'm going to get to as well, which is there a section, I don't think this is what your course is about, but he wants to know if there's a section on how to find his industry or his area of interest, of what to focus on if he doesn't already have something set up.
That's a good point. This isn't a course about finding your passion, but I will say this. What I've found has been very effective for people is you put together the conversations list. And it's really, I talked about creating a conversations list for the people that you want to connect with, but there's other types of conversations lists, like organizations and events. Organizations you should belong to and events. So I talk about those other areas in the course. Now, if you do that, first of all, no one does that. No one takes the time to sit down. It should only take you 15, 20 minutes and write out a list of the 50 people you want to build relationships over the course of the next 12 months. If you do that and you're a little bit confused about what direction you want to go, what industry you want to be in, what you want to do with your business, that can help you get great clarity. Because what I found is that sometimes people will write out this list and then they'll look over their list and they'll be like, you know, I'm running a yoga studio right now, but I'm really interested in online marketing. And I wrote down this list, and 45 out of 50 of the people are related to online marketing and only 5 are related to my yoga studio. What does that say to me? That says my interests have really evolved. It says I'm really interested in pursuing something, and my business is not related to that. I need to make a change. So to that extent, some of the tools in the course can help you to discover your industry, discover what you're more passionate about, discover what you should really be pursuing. Hopefully that helps.
Excellent, absolutely. And so the next question is from Tracy, who says, in your experience and opinion, is there a fine line between being approached in an accessible manner and ending up feeling manipulated? Like if someone at the end says all of a sudden, well, I've got a business and I help place high-level assistants with CEOs.
Yeah. So what's interesting is just thinking about what's going through that question, right? In that question is fear that reaching out, connecting with someone that you admire is going to perceive your connection with them as manipulation. And I guarantee you, if you don't manipulate them, they're not going to perceive it as manipulation. Now, you can reach out to someone and you can do it the wrong way. You can immediately try and be pitching them on your product or service. I would not recommend doing that. But if you're reaching out to someone, you're trying to connect with someone, you're just having a conversation about whatever, they're not going to perceive it as manipulation. They're going to perceive it as just two people having a normal human conversation, you know. And so a story I often tell about that is when I was leaving the White House, back in the day, they don't do this as much anymore. Now Barack Obama records YouTube videos, but there's something called the radio address, and Bill Clinton used to record them in the Oval Office, and only a small group of VIPs got to come. They're talking about members of Congress, we're talking about celebrities, we're talking about governors, that sort of thing, and departing staff members. And so when I was leaving, I actually went down, my family members flew in from out of town, we went down to see him record the historic radio address in the Oval Office. And this is how it worked. We go, get in line, and then you see he comes in at the last minute, records this radio address, and then he takes a bunch of quick photos with everyone in front of the desk, and then he takes off. And we went and we actually got gifts beforehand. We knew that he was interested in old Western movies, so we got these DVDs and we put a bow on them. We brought them, and we go down. He records a radio address, and then they do this photo line, and it gets up to us. We hand over the gifts, and he immediately has like a 5-minute conversation with us. So here we are in the heart of power, in the Oval Office, having a conversation with the leader of the free world in front of the desk about old Western movies. And the reason I say that is because if I can have a normal human conversation with the leader of the free world in the heart of power with a bunch of VIPs behind me who are all saying, why the heck is this guy getting more time, and we all get just like a 30-second photo op, then you can have a normal human conversation with whoever it is that you admire, whoever you want to connect with. Just go have a normal human conversation with them. Business, that can wait. That may happen later. It might never happen. But it will never happen if you start by trying to sell them. If you start by being like, hey, I've got a business where I place high-level assistants. Will you hire me? Not going to work in today's day and age.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Yeah, I agree with that. It's really about your intention, and if you come off, manipulative, you're being manipulative, you're being manipulative. And if you're not, and if you really have the genuine interest and connection, then people can tell. If you've taken time to really connect, then people really can tell that.
Yeah, particularly if you've done your research, or particularly if you just have a normal conversation with them.
Totally. So next question's from Steve, who said, anything you would do differently or adjust if you were using these tips to seek PR opportunities with the media?
If I were using these techniques, well, honestly, I think that this can work in any industry. And let's say that the way you do need to adjust it is if you're trying to connect with someone who's like a journalist or a writer or an editor or a publisher or something like that, they're getting solicited all the time. They're constantly being hit up. It's really no different from a blogger or a podcaster these days who are also getting solicited all the time because they are the people who are in that position have got a megaphone, and it's like people are coming up, they're like, hey, do you mind shouting my name through the megaphone? So what you want to do is make sure that when you're connecting with someone like that, that you recognize that you're trying to help them in whatever they're trying to achieve. So if it's a publisher, if it's a writer, if it's a journalist, let's say it's a columnist for a newspaper or something like that, a great way to bond with someone like that is simply to approach them and say, hey, I saw you've written about X, Y, and Z. You haven't written about this other topic, which is slightly related. I think this would be an interesting topic. You give them some ideas and then say, hey, you know what? I also know this other person who I can introduce you to. They're not a client. There might be a friend or something like that. I don't benefit from introducing you to this person. I just thought it would make a really interesting column. I really enjoy the columns that you write. I'd like to read that column. Now imagine if you approach someone like that, even if they think it's not a good fit, they're going to be really appreciative of that. Now imagine if you do it a second time. Now imagine if you do it a third time. Eventually you're going to hit, right? And what a lot of people do is they might try this technique once and then they give up, right? And so those are the people who are just not going to be successful in life. You got to keep on trying. Just like Marisa with this summit, you got to keep on trying through. So hopefully that answers that question.
Totally. And there's definitely some more questions here, and one of them is from Michelle, who says, can we still get the upgrade offer if we pay the $27 monthly? I think it's only available for the $197 one pay, correct?
Right. Just the flat fee.
Okay, great. That's the only thing that's on special right now, and it is the elite offer that you're getting for $197, which is $200 lower than any other time you'll ever be able to see that offer. So next question's from Wendy, who says, does John's technique only use email and social media to connect with people, or do we learn to use other forms of communication too in your offer, in your course?
Yeah, no, we talk about also face-to-face, that as well, and the importance of that, and honestly, you can use these strategies because it's not really about the medium so much as the approach, the philosophy, the mindset. And so technologies will change. I mean, 10 years from now, Twitter and YouTube and Facebook could be in the dust. I mean, they could be a joke. Facebook could be a joke as much as MySpace or Friendster is a joke today. I know everyone's like, oh, that's crazy. No, that's crazy. That would never happen. But it could, right? So the technology will change, and we'll be using something else as our platform. But really it's about, one, having the right frame of mind, approaching it with a value-driven approach first. If you look back at the 5 tips, the 5 principles of cold email that I broke down for you, I was talking about email, but really it's any kind of messaging, no matter what platform you're using. So it's really about how to build relationships across different types of platforms, and whether you're talking about sending a message through social media, whether you're talking about sending a message through email, whether you're talking about sending a message across 4 feet to someone you're talking to at a cocktail party or at a conference. So hopefully that answers that.
Yes, it does. Thank you. So the next question is from Christopher, who says, how do you reach out and build relationship with an influential person who's got a gatekeeper?
Hey, good question, Christopher. So what I like to do with gatekeepers, well, first, there's a great tip in, I think it was in 4-Hour Workweek, Tim Ferriss says, what he did really effectively was sending emails. I mentioned earlier sending emails at a strange time of day. He would send emails, I think it was between 8 and 9 a.m. and between 5 and 6 p.m. local time for whoever he's trying to reach out to, because he found that the gatekeepers were not there at that time, but the hard-charging executive or VP or whoever he's trying to connect with was either in the office already or was still working longer at the end of the day, and so they were more likely to answer their own phones. You can use the same thing with email. As I mentioned, sometimes it's 11 o'clock at night, my time, and I'm on my laptop watching Netflix, and I see an email that comes in, and my assistant, is not monitoring my email at those hours, and so I'm more likely to respond to an email like that. So unusual hours is a good way to go. But as far as the gatekeeper goes, I've been a gatekeeper. I mean, Marisa, did you ever answer phones? I'm sure you did, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I did internships or something. Were you in the CAA mailroom or William Morris or anything like that, mailroom at some point? I mean, it sucks. It sucks. And the thing is, you just want some acknowledgement. You just want some recognition. And those jerks who are like, treat you like crap, they go to the back of the line a lot of times. So if you just learn a little bit about the gatekeeper, so that each time you call up, you can be like, hey, Phil, how you doing? Calling for George, but how you doing? In a sincere way. I'm not talking about being sleazy or anything like that, but hey, Phil, and maybe you find something out about them. Like, for example, the assistant to one person I was working on connecting with, I found out that she was an artist. I think it might have been in the email signature or something like that. So each time I called up, I'd just be like, hey, Sarah, how's the artwork going? You've been painting a lot lately? And oh my God, did that make such a huge impression with her. Such a huge impression. So a lot of times if you just care a little bit, if you're thoughtful with that gatekeeper, then they're much more likely to get you through to the person. It doesn't guarantee it, but it goes a long way.
Totally. One of my friends says whenever she goes to events, the first thing that she does is get to know the team. So if she's going to a big speaker event, she gets to know the team, and you never know where those relationships will pan out as well, and really making relationships at every level of an organization or someone you're interested in getting to know. Nice.
Yeah, especially as the people get bigger and bigger and they've got a big team. That's why they have the team. And frankly, if you build a relationship with those people, conversations are happening behind the scenes, where some opportunity comes along and they need someone for something, and those are going to be the people who recommend you because they have a positive interaction with you. So yeah, absolutely. Like as someone builds a larger and larger team, you definitely want to be building those relationships with those other people as well.
Totally. So I see Wendy asking how long you have access to your elite program and materials once they sign up.
Yeah, and I said for life. For life, Wendy. You get it for life. So whether you like me or not, you're there for life. We're stuck with each other.
Yes, excellent. So Sarah says, I'm actually a journalist. I come across people who agree to an interview for an article, and then they are prone to standing me up. Veterinarians do this a lot. How do you get people to think the interview is important when they don't care about any promotion so that they actually follow through?
Oh, that's interesting. Those jerk veterinarians. What are you only interviewing veterinarians? What? I don't understand. Like,
yes, they love animals. They hate people.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's it. They just don't care about people. Maybe you need to. I don't know. But
I do know people who like animals more than people. There are people out there like that.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. So, here's what I'd say. It might be a problem with there are a lot of people, and I know as a journalist you find this this concept foreign probably, because I've done journalism before in my background, and to you it's like what you're offering people, because so many people want that publicity. It's unusual to think that some people wouldn't want it, but there are people who are really uncomfortable with it, even if they don't articulate it to you. So there are people who maybe they don't want to see their name online, or they don't want to see their name in the newspaper for whatever reason. They're nervous. Maybe they're wanted in 3 states. Who knows? So it might just be that you're trying for the wrong people. I mean, you want to find those people that are appreciative of that. If someone was hesitant when you're setting up the time for you to interview them, and they're asking a lot of questions, maybe they're just not a good fit. It's like with my podcast. It's funny. I found it's almost easier to get some big names to come on my podcast than it is to get some local business owners in my local community for whom they've never been on a podcast before, and for whom the publicity would be really beneficial. There are other people who have been on a zillion different podcasts, but they know the drill. They know that I'm not going to have any gotcha questions. I'm not going to paint them in a bad light. But the person who hasn't been on my podcast, who hasn't been on any podcast, doesn't know. I mean, is it going to be like being on 60 Minutes, or are they going to freeze up? So that might explain why some of the people, are difficult. So Sarah, maybe, and sorry, she says she works for a horse magazine. I apologize if we're having a little fun with the veterinarian thing, but yeah, I mean, maybe it's just that the people that you are trying to get those interviews are just uncomfortable with it.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think, John, about having a slightly different positioning too, if that's a regular occurrence of, what is it that you love most about what you do? What do you wish people knew about horses or about animals that they don't really know about? I mean, is there a way to maybe bypass that objection of them not necessarily wanting to be in the spotlight by giving them a potential mouthpiece for something they really care about that goes beyond just what they do?
Tap into that thing that they're passionate about. I mean, maybe, for example, and I'm just going to make this up, but maybe they're really concerned about acidity in water sources for horses, and they think it's a tragedy, and we need to do something about it, and we need to cut back on acidity in our water supply because it is going to decimate our horse populations. Imagine if you wrote a story on that, and you found someone who cared about that, or even wrote the story because you found someone you wanted to interview, and so therefore you decided to write that story. Now that's a very different situation than from if you were to write a story that you want to write and you find someone else who you can plug into the story.
Totally. Absolutely. Great advice. And so Wendy's saying this particular approach is focusing on a one-to-one individual approach with dealing with people. Is that right?
I actually have a portion of the course which talks about as you scale up, as you go from one-to-one to one-to-many, because that's something that a lot of people have to deal with. I don't think that you ever really lose the one-to-one. I mean, like, Marisa didn't broadcast on Twitter and say, hey, would anyone be a guest on my Superhero Summit Live? She reached out to me individually, one-to-one, because someone else she had a one-to-one relationship with actually dropped out at the last minute. Mm-hmm. And so you always need to have those one-to-one relationships, and you're constantly climbing the ladder. You're constantly finding new people who are at a level that you're not operating at, who you want to build that relationship with. But having said that, as your business grows, as you want to have a bigger impact, there is tremendous power to starting to communicate one-to-many. And that could be through an email list, it could be through a Facebook page, it could be through YouTube channel, it could be through a webinar like we're doing right here. So I actually do talk about that in course as well, and then how you can scale up your relationships.
And out of curiosity, John, just on the other side, once you get to the point where you are doing awesome work in the world and you're successful and you're inundated with requests, how can you handle that with grace, even if some of the requests that come through are completely not graceful?
Yeah, right. So like turning down requests with grace?
Yeah, because I always know... Yeah. We try to always, especially when someone goes through the right channels, I know we personally try to always give people a response. If someone sends it directly to me, I can't always guarantee a response, but if they send it to my team, they're more likely to get a response. But it's like I always want to make sure people have a response, and it's always an interesting thing because, I've gotten good at saying no, and it's something that's essential the more successful that you become. But I
Yeah.
also want to never preclude the possibility of having a relationship in the future when the timing could be right.
Right, right. Well, what I try and do, and yeah, I'm sure you've experienced this, you get all kinds of different requests for
Hmm.
all kinds of different things. We were talking about it beforehand, like summits is one. I'm doing 3 this month, and I don't even do summits. And I'm doing 3 this month because they were friends, and they were friends, and I couldn't turn them down. So if you go beyond that to other people who I don't know who are inviting me, not like, I mean, geez, it's not like every day I'm getting invited to summits, but the point is, you do need to be very disciplined and protective of your time and your priorities, and you need to set those priorities. And I think that if people follow the work that you do in a genuine way, and they support the work that you're doing, then they will understand if you give them a gentle letdown. Now, what I do try and do is I try and, to the extent that I can, provide some kind of additional fallback. Like, I'm so sorry. I would love to be a part of your virtual summit, and you're asking me to be live every day for an hour and a half for 4 weeks straight. I would love to do that. However, I can't. But here are 3 friends who I think would be a good fit instead. Would you like me to introduce you to any of them? And I've even got to the point where now I actually have members of my team, Tony and Landa, who will do introductions for me as well. I do too many introductions. So like literally be like, yeah, Tony will introduce you to this person, and they totally appreciate that. They totally appreciate that. Or like people reach out to me and like, can you promote my product launch or something that's coming up? And there's only so many of those you can do. And so I'll be like, I can't. I'm so sorry. I'm tapped out. I'm really focused on this project or whatever I'm working on. However, how would you like me to introduce you here? Or I can't email my list, but I could share it on Twitter. I could share it on Facebook. Would that work for you? So it's not like, sorry, 0, nothing. I can't do anything for you. It's like, here's an alternative. Would that help for you?
Mm-hmm. That's a great idea. Thank you. And question here from Tanya, and we are getting close to the end of the question, so if you've had a question that you have not asked yet, make sure you ask it. And just a reminder that this $197 offer with the upgrade to the Elite version has a couple bonuses that are only available on the call, including the time bonus and including the bonus related to, what was the other bonus that was only available on the call? I can't remember.
Networking with Purpose Live. And also, Find Time Now, yes.
Right. So, question from Tanya, which is, since you know something about the entertainment industry, any ideas on how a newbie filmmaker can reach out to influencers, filmmakers, or screenwriters to get them to look at their script or project?
Well, it's interesting because that last little part there, when you listen to the questions sometimes, it's interesting to see what the priority is here. Priority is get them to look at my script or project. And so a better approach is to build the relationship first so that when it comes time that you want them to look at the script or project, you've got the established relationship. Now, there are a number of different ways you can go about that, but one thing we haven't talked about here that I do want to share, which you could employ in the entertainment industry, is the idea of putting together an event like a dinner or a lunch, or it could be something quirky and unusual like a hike or a pickup basketball game or a group yoga class, where you bring together a group of people who are interested in connecting with one another, not even so much you. And I've found that this is a tremendously powerful strategy. So literally it's like you get together some people from your industry, whatever industry you're in that case Hollywood, you bring them together and get them together, and they're interested in attending whatever activity or event because of all the different people that you've aggregated. And so it doesn't just have to be about you. In fact, the funny thing is you can actually create an event that could get to the point where it's so prestigious that you wouldn't even be invited, right? There's a guy named John Levy out of New York who runs a dinner. I interviewed him on my podcast. He runs a dinner called the Influencers Dinners, where he invites like Olympic athletes and CEOs of major companies and recording artists, famous recording artists and actors, and has like incredible people come to this dinner. It's 12 people at his house. They cook the dinner together, and it has some magical elements to it. And he jokes that, like, I haven't even accomplished enough that I would merit an invitation to this dinner. And when he started out, he was really scrambling just to get people to come to this dinner. But as he invited more and more people and he stuck through it and he brought interesting people together, they come because of the group. They come not just because of John, although John's a really cool dude. They come not just because of him. They come because they would love to connect with all the other people who are there, and because the experience is one that people want to go through.
Totally. So Wendy's saying, if we sign up for your elite program, do we have access to you to answer questions as they come up over time? Wasn't part of the package a couple group coaching calls?
Recorded group coaching calls, but the private community is the best place for that. I can't guarantee that I'll get back immediately, but I am in there on pretty much a daily basis, jumping into the different conversations that are happening there. So you can ask a question in that one.
Absolutely. So this is really funny. Steve's saying, how do I get my own personalized superhero character? So the only way to do that is to actually be a superhero on the summit. We have so many people emailing us all the time asking for a superhero character. So the way to do it is to get really freaking amazing in your business, give massive amounts of value to people, have such incredible training that I can't wait to introduce you to my tribe, and then I will gladly, for free, draw a character for you and invite you to be live to 500 people. Go ahead.
And then you can be a total weirdo like me, and you can choose a totally strange superhero character like Plastic Man, which is what I chose. And then your wife can be like, "What the heck? Why'd you pick Plastic Man? Jeez, you couldn't have been like, I don't know, Superman or something like that." But yeah, so yeah, do that, Steve, and then you'll be on the summit one day.
Absolutely. So Sarah's wanting to know where she can meet all the top players in our industry at a single conference. I don't think there's any single conference that all of the players in our industry go to. She wants to meet Pat Flynn and Amy Porterfield and Michael Hyatt. I know I met Amy Porterfield at World Domination Summit and a bunch of other people, but can you think of anywhere else where they can meet a ton of people?
I met Amy Porterfield a number of years back at a New Media Expo in Las Vegas. That's a good one. Pat, I actually originally met there as well. I've written some guest posts on his blog. He came to a lunch that I organized at Webinar Ninja Live in San Diego about a month and a half ago. He didn't actually come to that's a good example right there. He didn't actually go to the conference. He was busy for the conference, but I came in the day before, and I organized a lunch that Pat was at. Kate Erickson, John Lee Dumas' girlfriend from Entrepreneur on Fire was there. A bunch of other cool players were there. And so, like, sometimes you can even gather people from the local community who aren't even attending the conference to come to an activity if you bring together the right group of people. I haven't met Michael Hyatt before. Yeah, World Domination Summit's definitely a good one.
Trafficking Conversion.
Yeah, trafficking. A lot of people go to that one. Social media, what's it called in San Diego?
World.
Social media.
Something or
World
like
or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. Whatever. It's in San Diego once a year. It's Social Media Examiner puts that one on.
Totally.
Michael Hyatt has his own platform conference, which I think he's still doing on an annual basis. If you want to meet Michael, that'd be a great way to go meet him. Go do that.
And potentially start your own podcast, build up a following, and invite them to join.
Absolutely. I mean, that's actually that's a great point. I don't have a huge podcast. I don't even have a huge platform, but I've had Amy Porterfield on my podcast. I've had Pat Flynn. I haven't had Michael Hyatt, but I haven't reached out to him. I probably could. I've had Guy Kawasaki. I've had Gary Vaynerchuk. I've had all kinds of big guests on my podcast. You don't have to have a huge platform. You can be like that guy Liam Gill, who I showed you earlier. It just takes a little bit of gumption in reaching out to these people. Let's see. Any other questions that people have here?
Yes, I think I've got another one. Let me open up my sheet. Well, Joan's asking the best way to find first-level contact information, email, snail mail, all of that. Is that with your tool, Bullseye?
Yeah, email. That doesn't do snail mail addresses, but that'll get you email addresses as well. Yeah, but I mean, it's funny because, like, let's flash backwards 15 years before Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and all those. Like, it was so much harder to get in touch with people. Now we've got all these different platforms. You can try Facebook, you can try LinkedIn, you can try Twitter, you can try Instagram. You can try, if they're an author, you can try writing a review of their book and putting it on Amazon. That'll get their attention. Another one I've done, the one that I showed with Sherita, like recording a video of yourself, putting it up in YouTube, embedding that in Amazon, or emailing a link to them. I mean, I've had authors where it's funny, like I did a video book review directly into the camera, uploaded it to YouTube. Before I could even email the author, they got it in a Google News alert and emailed me first. Isn't that crazy?
Totally. And I see a couple people, and I just wanted to point this out. I think I saw, and I don't want to call anybody out, but I saw Wendy asking if you would write a testimonial for them if she joined your course, and Carol asking if she could use you to get to someone like Gary Vaynerchuk. And I think that both of those requests are not quite in the spirit of what you're teaching here, in the sense that, you know, before asking for things like that, you know, which
Right.
both of which you might be willing to do, what can you give to John? And just to watch that, because it's really easy to not be aware and almost accidentally start coming off as, you know, being the kind of person that's just trying to take, when I know for a fact that Wendy and Carol are not that kind of people. It's just natural to come out that way. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, it's a great point, and that's why I gave a couple examples, a couple of case studies in my presentation, because you see it over and over again. Because, you know, people see the opportunity and they don't realize that you're hopping straight to an ask. You know, and it's a much better strategy. It's a much more effective strategy to build that relationship first, to get to know that person first, to provide some value to them first. And I'm not saying you need to do it to me. I'm actually saying go out and do it to other people. People email me all the time, and they ask me, like, what can I do for you, John? And I say, honestly, go out and help other people. Like, I'm not doing this for selfish reasons. I'm trying to inspire more people to go out there and give to the rest of the world, not because I want everyone to go out because of a spirit of charity, because it's the best thing you can do for your business. That's what I said.
Totally. So thank you for letting me pick on you. I don't want to give you a hard time. I just want to say that I know when it's very, very easy to accidentally come across that way without even meaning to it, and we all do it, and I've done it so many times before as well. And now
Steve's invited us over for tacos.
I know. Well,
Touché.
you know, a really famous story from Mike Fulsame is someone was trying to get his support on something, and he wasn't responding to email, so the guy had a pizza delivered to Mike's house with a note inside of the pizza box. You know?
Yeah, that's a great one.
So I'll take taco deliveries to my home.
I don't think I mentioned the book. There's a tremendous book. I'm going to put it in here, Give and Take by Adam Grant. It's kind of like, there's a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Classic, been around for 100 years. And that's a little bit more based in anecdote. And Give and Take is a really well-written book, really engaging, but it's based in basically scientific and academic studies. Adam Grant takes all these different academic studies, and he proves that if you're more of a giver, you're far more likely to rise to the top of the success ladder. And he gives examples in a bunch of different industries. That's a short book summary, so I'll definitely check that one out. Yeah, Wendy says, I want to write a testimonial for John. Thank you, Wendy, but go write a testimonial for Marisa or someone else. Honestly, like, that fulfills me. But I appreciate it. I'll take your testimonial as well.
Thank you. And yeah, so just a reminder, we're heading towards the end here. It's almost 2 o'clock, and I see a quick question here from Jackie. Who would I try to reach out to promote my new book? Also, how to reach smokers who want to quit? That's
a very specific question, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, you know, I actually just went through this for a beta course that I'm creating right now, and a couple of different sources. So search for take your keyword term, whatever it is, like smokers that want to quit or something like that, and plug it into a bunch of different places and see where you can find active communities or people like Marisa who lead communities that are dedicated to that topic. There could be a blogger or a coach or something like that who's just focused on that one narrow field and a whole community around that person. Now, I would look in YouTube. I'd look in Amazon at other books that have been written on this specific topic. I'd look in YouTube for recorded webinars. There could be coaches or therapists or something like that, or psychiatrists, psychologists who've recorded webinars or presentations that are just uploaded in YouTube. You can find them in there. There are other places like iTunes, iTunes U. SoundCloud is another place you can look. This is just beyond Googling. Like, you can look at all these different sources. Then another thing you can do is you can look in places where there are online courses. So Udemy, Skillshare, Coursera, these are all places where online courses exist. There may be people who've taught courses on this topic. in those places. You look at those places and see who've taught courses on those topics, and then try and research them a little bit more. Maybe you find their LinkedIn page, maybe you find their Facebook page, and then you see who else they're connected with. So maybe you find in Amazon, you find an author, someone who's written a book aimed at people who have who are trying to quit smoking. Then you go find their LinkedIn page. Then you scroll down, and you find what groups and organizations they belong to. Okay, there might be other LinkedIn pages or organizations that you can research even further. So that gives you a couple ideas there.
Sweet. And last question here is from Hosna, who says, on the sales page you mentioned 8 modules. What are the modules about?
Oh man, you're gonna quiz me on that, huh?
Oh, and by the way, we're also about to give away the contest prize. So to someone who's part of the contest and is still in the chat. So stick around for that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have them right in front of me. Let's see if I can look them up real quick. But basically, it's, you know, where I said all the different things that we didn't cover. That's the basic structure. I titled it a little bit differently inside of the course, but it's basically starting with mindset, moving on to creating conversations lists, how to use social media, how do you use face-to-face, how do you increase your ROI, how do you create a follow-up system. That's not exactly 8, but that's the basic structure of it.
Awesome, awesome. So just a reminder what John had to offer, and it's really, like I said, he almost said no to me on the summit because his offer is normally $397 and he didn't want to offer it for $197, but when I need to be, I can be charming.
Cartoon. She said I'd get a cartoon avatar. I was like, okay.
Yes. So Connect with Influencers is really a course to help business owners to grow their income by building honest relationships with influencers and VIPs in just 10 minutes a day. So it sounds like you've actually broken it down to how often to be, reaching out to people and just making this a regular part of your marketing activities. So instead of just focusing on, just scattershot in Facebook, but really having goals to who you want to reach out to and the relationships you want to build. And I definitely recommend that. And I know that you've got all sorts of things like exact word-for-word scripts and strategies and tactics so you can grow your income and your relationships in this way. So you've really boiled it down to an art form, which I love.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I see people do is they're like, oh, man, I want to build relationships in my following. I want to build a community. So I'm going to go spend $1,000 on Facebook ads. What do you think? And I'm like, you know what?
Nothing.
Okay. Yeah. Not a great idea. That's not a great idea. I mean, I don't want to trash on Facebook ads. I mean, they can be very effective if they're used properly. One, if you're doing it yourself, you're probably going to burn a bunch of money. You might as well put your money in a whole pile and burn it. But also, you've got these assets right now. I guarantee you there are people that you know that you were connected with that you can build a relationship with deeper. Maybe someone you met at a conference a year ago and you haven't followed up with them recently. Maybe you've been active on their blog. You comment on every one of their blog posts. Maybe you could take it to another level by reaching out to them and interviewing them for one reason or purpose. You put it on a podcast, put it in an article or whatever. So there are a lot of existing relationships, and then there are probably also people that are maybe one step removed or that you could reach out to, and you could use an interview as an excuse to reach out to them. So do those sorts of things before you get to the point of like spending a bunch of money on Facebook ads, because first of all, like people who find you through Facebook ads, it's a bigger barrier. They're not coming through a warm relationship or a trusted relationship. It's like all of you. I mean, we've got Roger, Andy, Shanti, Carol, all these people, you, Kimberly, Roger, all these people they trust me a little bit more because Marisa's here, because they trust Marisa. And so Marisa's like, hey, I trust John, you guys should trust John. So go through that type of relationship first before you go and spend a bunch of money on whatever, Twitter ads, Facebook ads, whatever.
Got it. So last question from Wendy says, what do we get extra in the elite program that's not in the basic influencer program? Well, I will say, by the way, that the offer that John's making is actually right now is actually less than either program would normally be. So you're kind of getting a free upgrade into the elite. But what else comes with that? Is it the Bullseye program? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, first of all, if you sign up before the end of the webinar, we got a couple of minutes left here, then you get the Networking with Purpose Live, and you get Find Time Now, help you discover an additional 20 to 40 hours per month. Those two bonuses as well. It's an additional $400+ worth of value. And then in addition to that, at the CWI Elite level, what do you get? You get the email template toolbox, 30+ of my best converting emails, most effective emails. Literally, you can say that a guy worked at the White House drafted your emails. Sound pretty cool? And then secondly, if you've ever wondered how to find anyone's email address, well, I hired a software development team to create my email bullseye tool, and that tool will virtually guarantee, nothing's guaranteed, of course, but virtually guarantee that you can find a person's email address. Just plug in their name, first name, last name, URL, and you can probably find their email address. I've found it's been very effective.
Sweet. And I see Andy saying, just got it after an hour trying to work it out, lol. So we'll definitely, immediately following up this call, we'll try to streamline that process to make it a little bit easier and clearer for everybody. And,
apologies, Andy. So sorry about that. Yeah.
Not to worry. So just a last chance to connect with influencers if you want the fast action bonuses, and you'll still be able to sign up for this up until midnight on Wednesday night if you want to get in on the special $197 price point. And I see a lot of thank yous pouring in, and now it's time to give away the prize, the Power Networking System valued at $97. And this is a system to get more clients, customers, and revenue by building a network with VIPs and top performers in 14 days, okay? So thank you so much for giving away this gift. And we originally vetted this against who was in the chat, so they might not still be in the chat. So the first person, and we're going to read a few names until we find someone who's in the chat. And I know that this is, I'm going to also type them in directly because there's a little bit of a delay on the Google Hangout. So the first name is Kevin from Healthcare Staffing. Kevin from Healthcare Staffing, are you here? If you're here, let us know in the chat because you're going to get the prize of the Power Networking System. And if you're not, we've got a few other names who will be coming in next as options and opportunities. And so I don't see Kevin. So next name is Natalie. So Natalie from Calgary. Is Natalie from Calgary here? And again, I'm typing it in the chat, and the first person to say yes, you've got it. I know all of these people were here earlier, and now I'm announcing the name. So Natalie is here.
Natalie's here.
Great.
All right,
so
Natalie.
That's it. So Natalie, you're the one from Calgary? Okay, so Natalie, can you email support@liveyourmessage.com, support@liveyourmessage.com, and I think we've already got your email address, so we'll make sure that goes off to John's team. Awesome, congratulations, Natalie. I'll send that to you, John, right now. So let's see what's coming up next in the pipeline. Awesome, awesome, and let me see. What's in the pipeline next? So, like I said, Natalie just won John's Power Networking System, which is really awesome, and tomorrow's prize is really impressive. I'm sorry, John, but superhero John Benson really pulled up the stops and makes your prize look not as hot.
Oh, man. Because I won't be here tomorrow, so I won't see it.
I know. So John's giving away a prize package valued at $4,500.
Oh, crap. Jeez. I didn't know that.
Yes, it includes his signature 3x conversion formula training, which sells for $19.97, and a 30-minute consultation with John Benson himself, the godfather of the video sales letter, valued at $2,500. So if you want to...
On day 3, you might win a Tesla. It's just like going upward like this.
Yes.
On day 4, you get a house. On day 5, you get a whole town.
That's funny. So Natalie, was that the Natalie from Calgary? I just want to make sure because there might be more than one Natalie. She didn't give her last name. When you enter the contest, include your last name. So when you enter the contest, include your last name. Okay? So if you want a chance to win, 2 things to do. If you want a chance to win the $4,500 prize package from John Benson, you've got to register for our Online Business Superhero Summit contest, and Kimberly's dropping the links in. And the more friends that you invite, the more points you get. And I call the names at the top with the most amount of points first. So the more friends you invite, the more points you get, and the more chances you've got to win the $4,500. So Natalie, are you from Calgary? We don't have your last name. So let's just make sure, because this is somebody from Calgary in the email address. So I want to make sure that it's the right Natalie and we're not giving the prize to the wrong Natalie. Calgary Passion. Okay, good. That is the right Natalie. Okay, so like I said, make sure you enter the contest and make sure you come out live for a chance to win. So John Corcoran, who is awesome, his replay and his offer is going to be open until midnight Pacific this Wednesday. That's this Wednesday, November 11th. If you sign up for the Superhero Pack, you're also going to get the transcripts of this. Some people were saying, John talks really fast. I couldn't keep up. I couldn't take notes. So you'll get the transcripts in this Superhero Pack if you sign up for that, along with the downloadable audio and the video. And we'll be posting the sessions in the membership area right away, and it takes us a couple days to get the transcripts together because, as you know, we've got to type them all out. And you'll also get the downloadable audio and videos. So if you do want lifetime access to the trainings, then grab the Superhero Pack below at the bottom of the page at the Week 1 special, Summit Special of $147, which is 50% off the usual price. So stay tuned because tomorrow we've got the godfather of copy himself, John Benson. So John basically invented the video sales letter. So he's done some awesome things in the world of internet marketing. And he's going to teach you about something called auto selling. So you probably are wondering, what in the world is auto selling? And let me get to that right now. He's going to show you how to get more sales and revenue using the power of auto selling, 3 time-tested strategies used by top online marketers to generate more sales automatically. Okay? So he's going to say exactly what is auto selling and how do you use it in your business today to sell more of your products and services. How do you use auto selling to induce hundreds of what he calls micro commitments that are ethically leading prospects towards a decision to say yes to you? And how and why auto selling inspires people to say yes far more often to what you're offering and also feel awesome doing it. He calls this the yes reflex. How do you tap into the yes reflex? So see you tomorrow at noon Pacific. In the meantime, let's keep this party going on social media. I'd love to see what it is that you learned from John today and to just, share that on our Facebook group for Superhero Summits. And I'll see you tomorrow. So thank you so much, everybody. Go out there, live your message, and thanks to John in particular for being so awesome and sharing so much value. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Marisa.
All right, hasta luego, hasta mañana.